No. I kept jamming my printer.
No, mine wouldn't even print. It wouldn't even come up to print. And I'm surprised. Yeah, I opened it 3 different ways. No, I read it.
And you had mine on the one?
Yeah, I did that.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning. Keith, can we do something about the music?
Better music, put up to the wall.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Morning.
Okay. I have turned on the recorder. The time is now 9:31 a.m. I'm going to call the meeting of the Venetian Community Development District to order. Today is Monday, June 27th, 2022. The first item on the agenda is the call to order / roll call. Those supervisors that are present are Rich Rocco, Steve Kleinglass, Richard McCafferty, and Ernest Booker. Supervisors, we do have Supervisor Ken Smaha on the phone. At this time, we would need a motion to allow Ken to participate in vote via phone.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion by Rich. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good morning, Ken.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
On behalf of District Management, it's myself, Belinda Blandon. District Council Andy Cohen is present. District Engineer Rick Schoppeger is present. Field Manager Keith Livermore is present. I believe we do have John Toborg, Landscaping Inspection Services, on the phone. John, are you with us?
Present.
Good morning, John.
Hey, John.
Good morning.
We do have Julie Cortina from Vesta Property Services. And on behalf of Presenter Company, we have Greg Rule, Michael Rodriguez, and Luciano Mastrioni. We do have representatives from LMP, Bill Gibb, and Chris Berry. And for the record, there are audience members present. Supervisors, the next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. We ask that everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please remove your hats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the public comment portion of the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, we will limit public comments to 3 minutes per person. Our first speaker is Steve Thomaston.
Good morning. This will be my last CDD meeting as a representative of the POA. My resignation was effective the 30th, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you for the work that we've done together in the last 6 years, and I sincerely hope that we will continue to nourish our relationship and move forward with it in the upcoming years. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, and thanks for the hours you've put in and the effort, and we certainly appreciate that.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Darlene Schimberg. Darlene?
Good morning, everybody, and I apologize for my voice. There's a couple things I'd like to ask questions of the board, and they can answer whenever they want during the course of the meeting, not right now. As far as the RFP is concerned, have you considered having a committee of residents along with yourselves review the process and review the RFPs? I think that based on the decisions that have been made in the past, it might be a good idea to have some of the residents involved in that. And then the last thing I want to say is that personally, I am still waiting for an apology from the engineer of this group. What he did in the city council meeting with the planning and zoning committee was totally out of line. Still haven't heard anything and think that it's not in your best interest. Thank you.
Thanks, Darlene.
There being no further speakers at this time, we're going to close out public comment and move forward with our agenda. The next item on the agenda are the staff reports. First up is the district engineer, Rick.
Yeah, the first item on this, under tab number 1, the LMP, they have a proposal down off of Portofino. There's some decorative grasses down there, just a few places that are still left down in that area. Keith was out there last week, and there's some places that need some erosion repair. So we're going to take care of that. But as far as the removing the decorative grasses, it looks like to me it's just a little over 200 foot or so, and their price in that proposal was $28.16. So that's a pretty good number. So my recommendation would be to move forward, but that's going to be your call.
Now, these are being, these are replaced, right?
They're going to remove the decorative grasses,
Right.
then they're going to decide.
And this will sort of hold back the banks.
It'll do a much better
Better job.
stabilization job than what's being done right now with the decorative, the plants, which doesn't really provide any stability.
Okay. There's several from LMP. Do you want to go through
Well,
all of them, or do you want to go
I
one
think
at a
this is
time?
different. This is, Ken, is this part of what you were talking about, the long-term, working on the ponds? Ken?
I'm sorry, yes. Well, I was gonna bring that up. I'm not sure why we're doing this one location now as opposed to a broader plan to do the same thing around many of the ponds. And I think if we can bundle some of those together to get over the $5,000 reserve capital minimum requirement, we can avoid charging this to the current budget and charge it to reserves as we're planning to do down the road.
I think the only reason why this come up separately was that Keith went out there and found two places that has pretty good erosion.
Significant erosion.
And then when he saw the only places left with the decorative grasses, some of them have been removed, so that would pretty much complete this particular the pond.
So you feel this is something that we should do to avoid further problems?
Further damage, correct.
Well, I have no problem with moving ahead with that.
Keith, are we gonna be doing some work on the pond behind Bella Vista?
Oh, that's up to, the engineer, he's gonna be taking, he's already got that in place.
Yeah, Ken, that's just the update on that. I've been trying to pin down the vendor on when they're going to be out there. His original schedule said they're going to be out here by the end of the month, and the work would take approximately 2 weeks. When he's coming out to do that is when I was going to get him to fix the areas down there off of the Portofino. And I'm trying to pin him down on the schedule.
He had said with his
It
original
won't be
schedule
done by
by the end of the month, right?
Done, I don't think so. Could it be started? Yeah, that's still the possibility.
He had said, and initially he said end of the month, right? So,
To start the work is his original, but I can't pin him down.
okay.
Well, I'm just wondering if we can't bundle some of these things together under one pond restoration broader proposal that would get it over the 5,000 minimum.
If we put the two together, wouldn't we have that? The one we've already approved for Bella Vista and this together would be over 5,000, wouldn't it?
The Bella Vista was $25,000 all
Yeah.
by itself.
So can we tag this with that one?
It's a different vendor.
What is the issue?
It's a different vendor. So you have
Different.
LMP working on this one and you have, who do you have on the other one? A&J or Cross Creek?
Aquagenics.
So, it's a different vendor.
Okay, all right. Keith,
We do have a bid from LMP for the banks going down the boulevard on the banks there. And so that would be over the $5,000 that Ken is talking about.
Sure.
Yeah, good point, Keith. Aren't we gonna be doing that or voting on that later? Either in this agenda or under the LMP response to the landscape report?
No. If this is
That's
a,
not-
is it
that's not-
considered a,
5/8.
is this considered a safety hazard?
To remove the decorative plants would not be a safety issue.
I'm getting a little confused, and maybe it's just me, but you're recommending, I guess along with Keith, that we do this one because there's some urgency to get this thing done.
For the
For the-
spot repairs, there's two places that are pretty significant. That needs to be fixed. And so I was going to get the vendor that was coming out to do Bella Vista to take care of that at the same time.
Okay. And that's the
That was the,
$22,000 deal.
no.
That's
that-
another,
That $2,800 is to remove the remaining decorative grasses out there. And then that would complete that pond.
No, but Aquagenics contract is like 25,000.
Right.
And that's the Bella Vista area.
right.
So you're trying to get Aquagenics to do this.
What I did is on that bid, I have a quantity of so many spot repairs. And sometimes I just put it in a number to develop a unit price. I don't know if I'm going to need all the ones that I've specified. So that was my plan, is to just getting down there to have two of them from down there.
But your feeling is that down on Portofino, that needs to be taken care of, otherwise we're gonna wind up in a.
The bank restoration, yes, yes. Now, again, if you wanted to hold back on the plant replacement, that's the board decision. But I know it, I mean, we know that the decorative grasses do not provide much bank stability at all. So so the recommendation is to get that done, but is there an urgency we need to do it right now? No.
But you're not speaking about the one on Portofino. The one on Portofino you think should be attended to. as soon as
Well,
we can get them.
Keith got the price, and the price sounded very reasonable. So if we wanted to just pick them off, because when we originally looked at all the lakes that still have the plants, you're talking a lot of money. So you would better off to phase the work.
Right.
So this would just been one that you could get that pond done. Could check it off the list.
So what are you looking for the board to approve specifically?
2816?
That's the proposal, and we just wanted to present that. If you want to move forward, that's how much it would be.
Well, I think it's gonna cost us more later, and if this is something we can get done now, and we have money for it, right? Where would the money come from, Glenda?
This would be a general fund expense. I don't see this as a reserve fund expense. This is a removal of the grasses. The stabilization of the banks, overall, that project would be something you'd pay for through reserve. This falls within the authority of the chair. If the board wants to move forward, the chair can authorize this without any further action by the board.
Well, I think we should go ahead with it.
Where do we stand with the Venetian project?
Well, that's about $14,000, and I brought that, I think the board's already looked at that. And that's something that, it would look a whole lot better, it would be a lot better maintained, and our banks would, the pond banks would benefit highly from tearing out those decorative grasses and put the sod down. They got the bid. I haven't even talked to LMP, but they may able to, when they do the Portofino one, just grade that where the washouts are and grade down and fill in a little bit with the extra dirt that's gonna be displaced. And then fill that in, bring it back up to grade, and then lay the sod.
I'd have to look at the washout. We have to bring some dirt.
Okay.
But again, if he has somebody doing it, we can meet Rick out there, take a look at it if you'd like. Within the landscape around us.
I guess another thought that I had is if we're going to be doing some of the work out there, does it make sense to do all of it? Some of it has to be done. So if, we fix that, I don't know if the residents are going to come back and say, well, you fix that, why didn't you take care of the rest of this?
Well, all I'm looking to do is to bundle enough together to get it into the reserves rather than hit the operating budget. Because I think we're gonna be having issues with the River Club budget down the road. And I'm just concerned about looking to avoid other operating expenses if we can.
Okay.
So you want to try to join it together with some other projects and?
I'm sure we could find
I'm sure you
other places
can.
to.
I'm sure you
to-
can.
Yeah, so I'll
Okay.
work with Keith on that then.
Well, I mean, it's not just something that we're going to do anyway.
Yes, of course, something that we're going to do. But you're talking about a bundling to get the number up so that we don't have to, that we can use it from reserves, is what you're suggesting, correct?
Rather than expense it.
Okay.
So operations, that's all.
Okay.
I'm sure we can work
All right.
with them.
Thank you.
on that. Okay, the next item, the stormwater needs analysis, state statute required that to be done by the end of the month. That was submitted a couple weeks ago to the county. She acknowledged it. I don't know if she does a thorough review, but I've not heard anything back off of that. So I have to submit the Excel spreadsheet once we fill it all out. And the way they've got that spreadsheet set up is if you're deficient on any category, it automatically highlights the columns in red. You don't have any red, so I think you're fine. So just want to let you know that's been done. And the last thing that I had is the tennis court grates. He said it's on the schedule for July 11th. That's the latest that I got from him. There was a big delay getting the pieces, and I understand that those have come in, and now we're on the schedule for July 11th.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay. Thanks, Rick.
Any questions for Rick? No? Andy, do you have anything to report?
Just to update the board that, as you know, the amenities RFP is out there on the street. Everything's moving forward. Belinda did an amazing job of putting together a Q&A since the questions were due June 23rd at 4 o'clock. There were a lot of hard, good questions, I thought. RFPs are due back July 5th at 4 o'clock. And the idea is to still move forward with the CDD making an award at your July 11th meeting. And then working diligently to have a contract with Vesta's last day, I believe is July 21. So that's the only item I had, but I'm glad to try and answer any questions.
Do you know how applicants we have so far?
How many packets have been picked up?
Not picked up, but emailed.
Right.
We sent it out to about 10 different entities. 4 have already come back saying
Okay.
they are not interested in bidding.
Okay,
Andy, when do you think we'll have the packets to look at?
That's more of a question for Belinda, but if they're due the 5th at 4 o'clock, it's just a question of assembling the information and getting it back out to the board members, so. How long do you need?
Is that a reasonable period of time? I mean, that's like, I know we had some kind of time constraints, but
We tried to
it's,
plug it into the calendar as best we could so that you could make a decision at your meeting on the 11th. But keep in mind, if for whatever reason you feel you're not ready, you could continue your meeting, but we're still up against the termination date of VESTA. So we would have to potentially move that as well.
it's just that,
Or have a lag, and it may be unavoidable that nobody wants to see it, but it may be unavoidable that the club is closed for a short time frame or something.
it's just the haste and we have history here. And we don't need to make the same mistakes we did before. We have history here, and I think haste may be wasted. I think this is a major decision, and I'm not saying we should slow walk it, but we need to be very thorough in our analysis of the respondents to this RFP. So I see it's like 1 week we have to do it.
They're due back on the 5th, with the plan that you would make your decision, you take presentations, if you up on it, and make your decision at the meeting on the 11th.
on the 11th. But that meeting can be continued.
Absolutely. But we were faced with Vesta's last day being the 21st. Again, would potentially Vesta could slide that, I don't know. We have a little bit of, downtime of the club, I don't know.
Yeah, we
We
need
have
to
some options.
we need to discuss some possible contingency plans for operation.
Understood.
That's all.
Well, if you have all the RFPs in hand by that early July date, and they're assembled and then
They're overnighted. So we would-
overnighted to us as they have been in the past,
Yes.
we should probably have them by
Thursday?
7th.
I would say the 7th, yes.
That's Thursday.
That gives us, we have to wait until the 4 o'clock deadline.
Right.
So I don't think we'll be able to make it to overnight at that point.
Probably not.
So they'll definitely be out in the morning for delivery the following day.
Okay.
So, right, you have them Thursday for a Monday meeting.
Well, it gives us.
Melinda, I couldn't
some-
quite hear. Have we gotten any actual responses yet? Submissions yet?
No, they're not due until Tuesday, July 5th.
No, I know, but sometimes people send them early.
No.
But Melinda, is there any harm in sending those that come in prior to that date of the 5th? So we can start looking at them?
They can submit them. We can send them as we receive them.
But I doubt that you're gonna get them too much earlier.
Okay.
It just, you never know,
Sure.
but just if history is a guide,
But
you're
there's
gonna
a,
probably get them at some point on Tuesday.
I mean, if we get them Tuesday, we can definitely send out the electronic copies to everybody, and then the hard copies will be delivered to
so,
everybody overnight.
so let me just posture it. That's the long weekend, that's July 4th weekend. It seems to me that if you're gonna be submitting something, wouldn't you have it done before that weekend? I'm just
Maybe.
thinking, yeah, maybe,
Maybe,
exactly.
Steve, maybe.
So there's some possibility that we could get some of them as you get them. There's no prohibition for them sending out the one she has, correct? Or not?
It'd be better to open them all at once, I think.
I mean, we're not
Because,
holding a formal bid opening.
True. No, I guess there's not.
All right, well.
I can send them to the board as I receive them electronically, and then
That's fine.
Right,
your complete sets will be delivered to you. They'll be overnighted the following day after
That's
the
fine.
deadline.
I mean,
That's fine.
from going through this the last time, there is a lot of material to review.
There is.
And you're gonna send the scoring sheets with it.
I can, yes.
Okay.
But we don't have criteria.
I think
Okay,
we do.
yes, we do. Okay, never mind. One thing I did want to ask the board is a timeline for each vendor for presentation, because we have not discussed this, and some of the vendors have asked what time they will be provided with in order to present their proposals.
Is 30 minutes reasonable?
Each vendor,
Is that reasonable? Too much?
I think it's reasonable. I think we did 20 minutes, 25 minutes last,
Yes, that might.
but I think that's reasonable.
So what if we said 20 minutes?
Yeah, we do have evaluation criteria.
Right. When will those presentations be? They're not gonna be, are they gonna be on the 11th?
Yes.
So we're gonna allow every submission to have a presentation?
Yes.
That's what we've done previously.
You don't have to.
No,
Well,
but
I'm
you
just thinking
certainly
out
will,
loud,
can.
I mean, if we look through these and we say, no way, why would we even waste
Well,
everybody's
I
time?
think if you're going to have, I think you either have none or all.
Okay, that answers the question.
Because you may look through one, I'm just talking out loud, and go, no way, but then hear their presentation, like, oh.
yeah, and it's also possible that some of the responses may not be acceptable for whatever the reason may be. They're
Sure.
not complete or something like that.
Yes,
Last time, when we invited everybody to come to
Right.
present, if you recall, not everybody did.
So the action is then on the 11th, all the presentations will be done also.
yes.
That's pushing it. I mean,
Well,
to
in the
do
past,
thorough due diligence, I think we need more time. And there was a suggestion here earlier by Darlene, maybe we get some of the residents involved that have experience of this nature and, or allow them to question the respondents. So I just think we're rushing this, we need more time, and we're gonna possibly wind up in the same situation we're in now.
Well, I think we need to have a start time.
Yes,
So the start time is going to be the date that the submissions are due, and we'll get copies. So I think that should be our focus and our goal. And if we need more time after that, then we can provide it. We can continue the meeting. We don't need to finish everything that one day if it's not possible. But we need to get started, and rather than delaying it, I think the 11th is, these companies know that they're expected to hit the ground running. So they'll have an opportunity to speak to us on the 11th. That was the original plan. That was what was presented in the RFP.
I have a technical question that I wanted to ask. Is it prudent to set in motion another follow-up meeting so that we meet the timelines for advertising meetings?
you can
just-
continue. You don't have to
So we don't
adjourn.
have to re-advertise?
Right, as long as
Okay.
this is on the agenda, which obviously it will be.
Okay.
Then you will be able to continue to a date, time, place specific without having to re-advertise.
Okay, so that takes care of that?
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll
cool,
cover
we're cool, we're cool.
Will this be a one-item agenda, I hope?
I mean, one item meeting,
Yes.
I understand that it's.
One item meeting?
Can you please use the microphone so we can hear you?
one item meeting, you mean?
Yes, I would suggest that this be a one-item meeting.
It can be.
Okay.
too important. Well, it's too important. We need some type of, for lack of a better word, consultant to assist us in analyzing possibly some of these submissions. I've represented municipalities and all things of that nature, and normally we have an expert sitting there to advise us, to help us evaluate presentations. We don't have any of that type here. And again, I'm worried about getting back in the same situation we recently experienced. And I think none of us are experts in this type of matter. Well, so I just think we need assistance. Possibly we have residents here that have experience in hospitality or things of this nature. We just need advisors, for lack of a better word, to advise us.
I mean, in the past with other CDDs, when you have an RFP, we've utilized a evaluation committee. And the evaluation committee is made up of different people with certain expertise, and they meet in the sunshine and they make a recommendation to the board. We did not go that route this time, mostly because of our tight timeline. So if you wanted to take a step back after, I mean, it's your decision. I tend to agree, just personally, with what I heard the chairman say, in that you have your meeting on the 11th, you see where you are. There may be some glaring one you're in favor of or not in favor of or whatever, or you may decide we just don't have the information that we need. So that is something that we could take a step back. As I said, any slide in the timeline would involve either having Vesta stay on longer or having the club closed for a certain amount of time. And that may be something that you decide is worthwhile.
Okay, I'll say again, I think we should see what we get and decide how we're gonna move forward from there.
Ken
With
has
the
a comment.
understanding, with the understanding that we can continue the meeting.
Ken has a comment. Ken, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask either both Belinda and Andy what they've experienced in the communities in terms of the process. For example, was a subcommittee established to advise in this process? I don't think it's a crazy idea, and I know we've got some time limitations. I don't know if there's a possibility or Vesta would even be willing to stay on for another month or two. But I agree it's an important decision, and selfishly speaking, because I think it's important, I was planning to fly down to that meeting on the 11th. But if it's not gonna be decisive, then, I don't know what to do. But that's just me.
I mean, to answer Ken's question, I think that it depends on the project and the community. We just finished a very large, huge landscape contract for Lakewood Ranch CDD, and they had an evaluation committee, but it was written in part of the process from the beginning. So I think it's it's not impossible, but it's a little bit harder to write that in at the end. But it's something that we could do and take a step back. As I said, it would just mean a slide in the timeline. But there's no uniformity, Ken. We always do it this way with amenity services, or we always do it that way with landscape services. It sort of depends upon the contract and the community.
We need to slow walk
We've
this
got
issue.
advisors for our investments. We've gotten, obviously, outside parties for reserve studies. We've gotten outside parties for other major issues like bonds. I mean, I realize that's big, but we don't have the best track record here. And, for full disclosure, I have had some other conversations with outside parties who do not intend to respond to the RFP about looking at some possibilities outside the box that, may take a little longer to evolve as well. So I just think I'm kind of with Ernest in that there's some other things we can be thinking about, as well as getting some more professional support. And I know the POA has gotten a list of deep skill mix around the community, maybe we could refer to. I don't know. I don't want to rush this, but I know we're in a time bind as well.
How about if one of the things that we do is, as a plan B, see what Vesta's interest is in possibly extending a month?
Well, I wouldn't limit it to a month. I would
Possibly
somewhere-
extending. We have to say something. I
Something,
mean,
okay.
we can explore that if they're interested. I don't know, Julie's here, I'm sure she can't speak for the company, but if they wanted to extend on a whatever basis, be it a month or be it a period of time or whatever. How do you feel about that? So that there's a,
Well, no, I could support something like that, but again, we can't have a rush to judgment here.
that's
And
why I'm
we-
proposing
And
a fallback.
well, maybe we need some type of workshop, which we invite the residents as well to participate, to determine if we want to change the blueprint of how we run these type of amenities. Maybe you want a outside restaurateur or someone to manage this facility, and bringing another company to do the other associated amenities. We have to think outside the box here, I think, in order to, and it's about satisfaction of these residents. And we
One of the
haven't been
things-
doing it.
One of the things that we don't know, Ernest, is what is going to be presented to us by whatever companies are applying. We may in fact have a company that's applying that is going to farm out their restaurant services. We don't know that until we see what comes in. So we're making you're making some assumptions on things that we don't know. You may be very surprised to see a company presenting exactly what you've just said. And we've discussed that at board meetings before. They're gonna be the amenities company, but they're gonna bring in a restaurant company that's gonna do the food service aspect of this place. And they're gonna bring in a tennis person that's gonna take care of that, or whatever. And they're gonna be the overseer of all of it. We have to see what's gonna be presented to us.
Okay, but what's our game plan if we don't get that on the 11th?
My suggestion was that we reach out and see if Vesta's interested in staying for a little bit.
And the fact that we can extend the meeting to another meeting if necessary. Or
I-
we don't have to make the decision on the 11th. We can make it, we've got till the 21st, which is,
You gotta get a
Terrible.
contract too.
Yeah.
So,
You know, I think we have a reasonable plan here. We've got a timeline in place. We know that we don't have to make a definitive decision on that meeting on the 11th. I think we're at least obligated to look and see what we get, and then go forward and see what we do from there, rather than trying to decide here. I think also it's reasonable for the chairman to reach out to Vesta and see what opportunities there may be.
That sound like something reasonable?
yes, me.
Well, I agree.
Then
I also be supportive, but
with Julie here, as a representative from Vesta and a VP, I would ask that you broach that subject with management
Yes, sir.
and see what their answer would be. And if you could do that, as quickly as possible. I realize you got a lot of stuff going on. That would be great.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Okay.
Ken, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
all right, that's the only item I had to update the board on, but I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Andy?
I have a separate subject for Andy.
Yes.
Maybe this has already been dealt with, but my understanding is Cheryl Hanson Toronto has submitted to run for seat 2, I think it is, and she is unopposed.
Okay.
So does that mean that she now has to fall under the sunshine laws? And if so, does that mean she has to resign from the finance committee since Rich is the liaison?
Thank you for bringing that forward. She is, if she is unopposed, she is subject to the sunshine law. So she cannot be discussing any CDD business with the board members she will be serving with. So she can discuss business with Steve because she will not be serving with him.
She's running, I'm assuming, for seat 4. I am not running again. I don't know about my compatriot,
Oh.
but
I thought she was running for Steve's seat.
that's 4. I'm seat 4.
Yeah, I don't know the number, Andy.
Okay. It's my understanding that she was running unopposed for Steve's seat, seat 4.
Yeah, somebody said seat 2.
Yeah, I did. I was incorrect.
Okay, well, regardless of the seat, she cannot, yes, if she is unopposed, she cannot speak with the board members she will be serving with. That would be a sunshine violation. If Steve is leaving the board, there's no chance that she will be serving with him. She is free to talk with him.
Well, I think Ken's question is, can she,
Rich?
I think I know the answer to it already. Can she remain on the finance committee? I don't believe she can at this point.
I don't believe that she can either.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I only brought it up because
There is not
she's aware.
Yeah, there is not a, sometimes what's referred to as resign to run law, which means she would have to leave in order to be on the board. But because of the sunshine issues that we've identified, I do believe that it would be impractical for her to continue to serve on that committee.
Even though she's not elected yet. I understand she will be elected.
She is elected. It's the way that 190 feels
Okay.
when you are unopposed.
Okay.
Okay, the finance committee will deal with that. It was my understanding that she would have to resign her position as a member of that committee, which doesn't mean that she can't come back as the liaison to that committee or something along those
Absolutely.
lines. But that would have to be after the.
Right.
Okay, so we'll deal with it for the next little bit.
Any other questions for Andy? Thank you.
And just before we leave that, as a new board member, she would assume her office on the second Tuesday following the election. So whatever the election, November, whatever, two weeks past that, 22nd, I guess.
Yeah, I think
The election is the
election day is the 8th, 6th, 8th,
Tuesday, whatever it is.
what about Tuesday?
2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's the 8th.
2 weeks past that.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
We now have the River Club report. Julie?
Good morning, board. I
Hey,
did
Joe.
want to pass out the new lunch menu
Thank you.
that we're going to be starting on the 29th. Ken, we could send it to you. Ken, we could send it to you. And I'll introduce our chef, Stefan Franz. He started on June 1st. He's coming from the Punta Gorda Isle Yacht Club. I felt it was necessary, even under the circumstance, that we bring the chef to start so we could carry on with the food program. He would love to stay with the club, and so that's just something to have as a consideration. Just to give you an update, on June 9th, we had a very successful Italian dinner, very popular in this community. Father's Day, we did 150 covers, which I thought was great for not being in season. Like I said, the new lunch menu starts on Wednesday. Chef Stefan said he would do a revision of the dinner menu before season starts and also the catering menu. We're prepared on July 5th that whatever I see it's in the agenda for the tiki bar, but we're prepared to understand what that operation would be to support the members at the pool, to have food service and drink service through the bar window, and we will continually communicate that to the residents as well. We have our 80s party on Wednesday night, which is full. So it's nice to know that we are getting support. So thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions?
When you say it's full, how many is that?
That's 100 covers for Wednesday night, because in the dining room here, there'll be a dance floor. So that takes up some of the real estate. You know, we may have some walk-ins available, but we had to cut off the reservations just because of based on the size.
And I thought the idea of having him here and having his picture available was
Yes, sir.
something that wasn't done before.
Yes, sir.
You know, I wish a lot of this had been done before. I've heard some very good things about the brunch on Father's Day, about the Italian meal, you know, so things are sounding very good compared to what we were constantly complaining about before.
Well, we're just prepared. I'm dedicated to fulfill our contract to the end, and that's just to continue to improve the food service operation and the facilities as well.
What I see, you're doing that, so.
Thank
keep
you.
up the good work, please.
Okay, thank
Welcome.
you.
Yeah. I'll just say that I've been here for dinner twice since Stefan has been chef, and one night we had 13 people here, not a single complaint. It was just 4 the other night. Great job all around. Again, welcome, and I wish you would have been here months ago, but we're gonna.
Thank you,
We're
board.
gonna enjoy you now. Thank you.
All
so
I
much.
can say is I came back this past week, all I heard was compliments about that Father's Day brunch. And it was magnificent. That was the terms I kept hearing all week. And welcome, or just welcome, doing a great job thus far.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions for Julie? Keith, do you have anything to report?
Just a couple little things. Morning. Don't want to be here till noon. I got a proposal here and I need to give it out to you. It's for the new gates for the pool area, coming in the main entrance of the pool and going out the side entrance here. These are all, they're custom made for us, and they'll be, it'll have the controllers on there as well. But those gates have been a bone of contention ever since, and they are coming, you know, that front gate's coming out on the 5th to facilitate L&B going in and cleaning out all the landscaping that's in there. So we're only gonna take out as wide as they need so that we can kind of put it back to facilitate people still going in and out after L&P's done. The actual carpenter for the tiki bar doesn't need any real big heavy machinery. And so I think, you know, we're going to save that fence that's there, but it's flimsy. It's past its service date. And, you know, this is, you know, Mr. Kleinglass asked me to get a proposal for it, and there it is. To remove all that. The other question about the sod going in down Veneto on those on those pond banks there. We do have a proposal, and to follow up with what Ken was saying, we could add that to this one on Padova, just the sod, and that would get us over the price that we're looking at and clean up the Padova, the Veneto ponds, and start this project of removing those ornamental grasses that are doing nothing for us, but causing us more money to, you know, chop down and clean up. So I think in the long run would be better served doing it, but that would cover what Ken was talking about, putting it into the reserves.
Okay. So you're gonna get more information on that.
Yeah, I already have the bids on that and you've already looked at them for Veneto and thought the price was pretty good for that as well. But we can get that back to us on, you know, that whole package back together here and present it.
Fine.
The next,
No.
no, because it's just a one agenda meeting. Can I slip something? No.
No.
Okay.
Okay, this gate, Keith, when it shuts, will it make that loud banging noise that currently exists, disturbing the tennis players as well as those in the pool?
No.
So they.
I'm sure that with the, with the way they're building this, and it's a solid iron, custom made for that area, I'm gonna stand on a limb. It lives. So you know how well I do with, trees. So, I think it'll solve all those issues of noise and, but
Okay, and we'll be able to use the same pass system? that we
same
have now?
pass system that we have now, correct?
Okay.
So to be clear, this does here and here.
Yes,
It does everything.
yes.
Well, they've been a problem for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I think with new closing mechanisms on them, you're not gonna have the, they,
The springs are.
I mean, it's like your front door or whatever, the aluminum doors, if the closer isn't working right, they're gonna slam. But I'm sure they can be adjusted.
Adjusted, right, correct.
Well, I'll ask the usual question, where does this money come from?
I'm not sure if this would be part of your tiki renovation. You have existing gates, so this is replacement also. So
Steve
You
doesn't
know,
want it there.
if it's replacement, given the amount, then this would be part of your reserve.
This wouldn't be
I
done
have a
until
question,
when?
I don't know if we can answer it today. Is there a plan, I know during the reserve study, there was a concern about replacing all the fencing around the pool area. And that seemed like it was a higher priority project. If that's going to happen, do we want to put in new custom-made gates now as opposed to trying to do something more standard? If something were going to happen in the next few months?
I see
But I
everybody's
don't know.
faces, yeah. But what Ken is referring to is discussions amongst the reserve committee, not that the board has had these discussions to replace
Right.
gates.
Right.
It's not something that the board has discussed at this time, but if it's something that you'd like to venture into, obviously, it can be something that we can bid out for work.
So I have a general question. You're talking about all the fencing around the pool area, not the specific gates. Is that what this discussion is about? Because I've never heard any issues with the gates around the pool or this fencing out here.
No, this is just talking about that gate, that fencing
No,
at the
he-
front.
He's talking about what Ken is talking about, He's trying to get a handle on what the reserve committee.
I
was
mean,
talking
the
about.
study shows aluminum fencing for 2025, so I'm not sure what the discussion was with the committee and custom reserves, but this is what I'm showing under the pool components.
Yeah.
That fence out there is not ours, is it? Isn't that DOA?
No, I think that's ours. I'm assuming, and the other thing is, we've not heard any complaints about that fencing, and if anything, it may need to be painted. I don't know that we would unilaterally just replace it.
This is for
I don't know.
seven-
I don't know the discussion that they had.
Yeah.
This is for 750 linear feet, so it's
It's
not,
gotta be all this.
Yeah.
And how much was that?
this is in 2025.
How much?
So the allowance here, let me scroll to the side. I believe it's 28,000.
It's pretty cheap, given what this quote is.
Yeah.
Well, this quote's got some magnetic hold openers, and it's more of a
Yeah,
custom.
It's got all the new
Plus
readers and all that.
All the electronics and whatever, as opposed to just the fence. This is a little bit of a different
Oh, yes.
situation.
Correct.
If we were to do this, it doesn't necessarily mean it couldn't stay when the fencing is done. Two different projects.
This is.
Oh, yeah, no, I think you want to go with this, because this is a thicker metal and a more heavier duty, because it's being used and opened and closed and slammed real loud. And so I think this is a completely different project than that
Right, I understand.
thinner that's out around the pool.
What I'm saying is, if we do the gates now, we could do the fence in 2025.
Or consider painting it.
Or whatever, yeah, but let's talk about it, not just.
But either way, we don't have to,
Table.
if we decide, we can lock him up on his price.
Yes,
But we're not installing this at all until after that tiki bar is done.
until the tiki bar is done. He needs some lead time to build it and to get it all put together. So that's exactly right. Tiki bar will be done and then he'll come out and put it up.
You know, there's probably not much of a reason why he couldn't do this part.
True, but he still has to build it
Right,
all.
he's still gotta build it all. But yeah, we don't want to put anything new up there until that project is done.
Correct. And by the time the project is done, this could be the next budget cycle, correct? Because you're not expecting that to be done until October, late September.
I would think so.
So it's gonna be the next budget cycle. It's been a problem for a very, very long time.
Any alternate,
Excuse me,
Say
Ken?
Again,
sorry, were any other alternatives considered other than this one custom design?
No, I haven't reached out to any other gate, just for the main reason that he does all the electronics. That's what they do, is build gates. And he does, he takes care of our gate arms up at the front and throughout the property. So I can research that and get some other gate companies out here to get some, but I don't know how custom made and strong they're gonna be. So,
Yeah, if we're gonna spend that kind of money, it seems like we ought to look at more than one alternative.
okay,
all right, you wanna see if you can
I
get
think
another quote?
I think there's no urgency to say yes to doing this today.
Right.
I think the urgency is a commitment that we're gonna replace those gates.
I think we already said that.
Yeah,
We're gonna replace.
So we're just looking for the best
All right,
price.
see if you can get another.
super, we'll do.
He's, this is the same guy that did the entry.
Correct,
And he was, at that time, the most reasonable one and the
Yes.
most reliable one, so.
yes.
But see if you can get another quote.
Okay, I'll do it.
Thank you.
You bet. Any questions?
Question. This, the gates, the car gates that go out, back entrance as well. This is the guy that was involved?
Mhm.
doing? Okay. Was that covered by our insurance policy, or did we have to, the recent damage by the storm?
Oh, for that,
Yes, for the gates.
You're talking about the Citadel gate?
Yes.
I haven't got a bill or anything from him yet. It was just, there wasn't, I think they just had to reset it.
Yeah.
There wasn't, I don't think any of that board got fried. The boards that got fried were the ones here in the building.
Oh, okay. Is that covered under insurance?
If it's damage due to lightning, depending on the actual amount, then yes.
Okay, good. So
But it depends on, they would go back to see how many lightning strikes. There's a science to it. So
yeah,
Good price.
we could report back depending on the actual cost of the replacements.
Okay, and then finally, we got a complaint this morning about the back door to the fitness center being broken, locked. I sent it to you.
I saw that, yeah, and it's, I've got to take a step back because it's not something that I deal with in the building. That belongs to Vesta and what they're doing,
I
and
was
so.
there. I'm sorry, I was there, Miles, and Paul looked at it, and the repair person is coming today.
Oh, good. She's on the case.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Anything else for Keith?
Thanks.
Thank
Keith.
you.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah. We didn't.
So, on my end, just as an announcement, our next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors is scheduled for July 11th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. I do have a few items from the board, for the board. I was contacted by Scott McMartin, Chief Acquisitions Officer for Heritage Golf Club. They are not going to be putting in a bid for management for the River Club. He did express that they are interested in purchasing the River Club. They would like to engage in conversations with a representative of the board so that they can come back to the board with some sort of a letter of intent or letter of interest. But before doing that, they've asked for the board to provide them with a point of contact.
I'll do it.
Is everybody in agreement with Rich being the point of contact?
You sure? Yes. I have no problem with that. I'll do that.
Okay. Okay, so I will let,
Okay, okay, full disclosure. I had reached out to Heritage as well, not as well, I didn't know if anybody had. And I've actually talked with Scott, in response to that. We've discussed a couple of options, one of which was acquisition. We didn't discuss acquisition, he just talked about, that would be one alternative. Rich, if you're gonna take this over, that's fine. You should be aware that they would also consider a long-term lease option. So, you know, it wasn't exclusively acquisition.
I have not had a conversation with Scott, except, he asked if he could speak with me about the River Club in general. I said no, because it was during the RFP, cone of silence period. I said, no, I could not. I directed him to, two people, to Keith and to Belinda, for specific information. And he just said, well, thank you for that. That's the entire conversation that I've had with him.
I guess maybe it's a question for Andy. I thought it was my understanding that if somebody said they were not responding to the RFP, were we not open to have a general conversation about the River Club?
You are. I mean, Rich's
What I thought.
response was perfect and excellent. But Ken, if you had a conversation and said, are you going to respond, and they said no, then you were also free to go forward.
See, I had no idea what his intent was, but I certainly did not want to get in a situation where some laws were being violated.
Absolutely.
So I simply said no.
That was most conservative and always the best approach.
Andy has taught me well.
But you're also correct, Ken, like you and I did discuss.
I would argue, sorry, Andy, but I would argue that's not always the best approach. I think we should not just dismiss things out of hand. I listened to you at the last meeting, and you made it clear that, you know, the first question you ask is, are you planning to respond to the RFP? And if the answer is no, you can have a conversation. So that's why I did it.
Okay.
And I'm hearing you now saying that's okay, but if you automatically say no, it just shuts off any possibility.
Okay.
So again, I don't have a problem with Rich taking it over as long as he understands he can have that conversation and he's open-minded to different options.
I'll act as the broker and only charge 6%. How's that?
I couldn't hear him.
I'm fine with taking on this, this responsibility and open a discussion with Scott, and I'll report back to the board and keep them aware of everything that's going on. But he needs one person to be the contact person, and I'm fine with being that contact person.
And to confirm for the record, they've now told, I guess both you, Ken, and Belinda that they are not submitting for the RFP.
correct.
Good.
They could change their mind.
They could.
They could.
Well, then that would change the conversation.
Well, I'm not going to speak with him until after the 5th anyway, so even if he speaks to me today.
Okay.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that news, their interest. I had presented previously a long-term ground lease for some of the properties that they had at that time for pickleball, but that was blown away. But I just feel like that gives us another option, and we're gonna wind up probably extending this whole period as it relates to this RFPs.
We're gonna see how things play out, Ernest. That's what I was trying to express before. Let's see how things play out.
That's why I said, just slow walking, as they would say, in the hood.
And that's all I had. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Belinda.
So moving forward, we do have the review of the landscape inspection report, which is behind tab number 2 for your review. LMP did provide their response, and we do have the consideration of the LMP proposals for the replacements in accordance with the report. John, good morning. Do you want to give the board an overview on your report?
Sure. Good morning. Was that for me, Belinda?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just a couple items that I'd like to bring your attention to. In conjunction with item 8 on my report, page 3, back kind of behind the service area of the River Club, there are a few very large invasive Brazilian peppers, quite on the large side. Of course, these have a humongous seed source. Be best to get rid of them. So as part of that proposal, there is a proposal for that, getting rid of the Brazilian peppers and then coming in there and filling that area, which after they're gone, it's going to open that service area to at least 2 homes there. So I'm asking for a proposal to bring in some more Nerium oleander, as well as some wild coffee, which does very well in deep shade. You can grow up in your closet if you want to. So I think in the deepest parts of that shady area back there, those 2 plants would be best. Again, in conjunction with item 8, we do have that proposal. Item number 9, I brought this up before, and I do have a photo of it there on page 3. I still am very disappointed in some of the spec of the Sweet by Burnham being brought in. To me, those do not meet a 3-gallon full spec. Some of them only have 2 or 3 leaves, twigs with leaves on them. And as you can see in that rectangular box I have there, you really can't even make out any hedge right there. And that should be much larger by now. So I'd like to get, see if we can't get better plants put in there under warranty. I want to bring a few cul-de-sacs that I did have during my inspection. One of them being shown in picture 14. That is on page 4 of my report. Got a lot of medjool fruit pods up in the crowns of the palms themselves. But in that picture, you can kind of see them on the ground as well. They're laying everywhere. We need to get those out of there. They just make it not only look cluttered, but they can also cause a lot of saplings to pop up. So we clearly don't want that to have happen. Item 15, and then again,
John, can I interrupt for just a second?
Sure can.
Do deer eat those pods? I noticed a couple weeks ago, a whole family of deer in the roundabout. It looked like they were eating the pods that fell off the trees.
You know what, Rick, it wouldn't surprise me if deer would eat that rock if they have to.
Well, they've been nibbling on the rocks, but
yeah, I've seen them. You know, they're going to sample everything and eat what they like best. So it would not surprise me because they love fleshy plants, and they love fleshy plants. The fleshier, the better. And those fruit pods or the fruits, when they fall, they're quite fleshy and soft. So that would not surprise me at all.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
John,
So 14, yeah, we need to get the fruits out. Of course, once the saplings start, that's a bigger mess, so we don't want that to happen.
John,
John,
hang on
yes.
a second. Steve
Just
has
a
a
minute.
question.
John, this is Steve.
Hi,
I was
Steve.
down on Mestrick Place the last few days, and that cul-de-sac was redone. That cul-de-sac is full of weeds growing up in there. It's pretty
Yes.
bad.
You're going to see, in fact, in this report, there's probably a couple other photos, and I can't remember exactly which one it was, but yes, I agree.
Okay.
Particularly around the perimeter of the curb,
Right.
weeding needs to take place.
Okay, so you're aware of all of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, again, items 15 and 35, awabuki. It's out of season to have powdery mildew on our awabuki, so we need to start looking at another reason why a lot of it is thinning. I'm showing one in photo 15 there on page 4, and then item 35. Do I have a picture for 35?
Yes.
Yes, I do. 35 is at Cipriani North. So we got to figure out what's going on with a lot of our awabuki because it is becoming see-through in some areas, particularly next to folks' homes, on those side yard landscape buffers. Item 23 and 33, we've had brought this up in the past. That is our tree ligustrums. Item 23 is a photo on page 5. That shows just one limb. So I want to make sure that LMP is going in and cutting that limb back at least 4 or 5 more inches to where they get good, clear wood, not discolored wood. But they also have to be very careful with not taking that same pruning shear and doing a healthy tree, because you're just spreading that Triospora canker. That is what we believe that is happening with our tree legs. We do have one in addition to 23, 33, and I believe that one's just too far gone. That is being shown on page 6 of my report. That is there at Brunello. I believe once a major part of the tree is diseased like that, it's best just to get the tree out. 48, item 48 on the report, where I want to make sure that bougainvillea standard up on the median in front of the guardhouse, I believe that one's in front of the guardhouse. I walked up there and saw a bunch of chew marks. So I've seen bougainvillea looper take over and annihilate an entire bed of bougainvillea overnight. So we need to make sure that we are treating that for that. They tend to sleep during the day, so you got to kind of look on the ground or on the back sides of leaves and make sure we're aggressively treating that. We don't want that on our property. It will take our bougainvillea away. There are still 2 or 3 spots of turf out on Laurel Road, and I guess I just need to work with Keith because I think we need to work in conjunction with the GC across the street, because a lot of it has to do with them coming over with their jack and bores or cutting patches for their water mains. And then two last items. In general, I still feel that Medici berm, both sides, I've walked several areas of it, both sides along Laurel Road as well as Medici Terrace. There are just areas that appear like it's just not being looked at. So we need to get crews up there. Kogan grass is taking over a lot of the berm. There's downy jasmine climbing up Washingtonian palm trunks. Plants up in the tree leg crowns, you can't even tell. So we need to get that detailed out. And then one last item, and Keith and I have had a brief discussion about this. Clearly, we've all done 4 cul-de-sacs re-enhancements. And then I believe a handful of others, the poor turf was taken out and we brought in the mulch. But what about all the others? I think we just need to get mulch in all those other cul-de-sacs where we didn't do anything this fiscal year, because it's limited down to dirt right now. And I think overall that would help the aesthetics of the community. So that was it for me. If you got any questions.
John, going back to one of the first things that you mentioned, this is Rich.
Yes, sir.
Alongside the River Club parking lot, we're talking about, I've mentioned that buffer a couple times because it's wide open, the parking lot is wide open. So you're suggesting some larger plants being put in there to minimize that open look that we have to the parking lot?
Yes, definitely. Well, larger plants, you know what? Sweet viburnum grows so quickly. I've never really felt the benefit of spending money on a 7-gallon sweet viburnum as opposed to a 3-gallon just because of the speed at which they grow.
Okay.
I just feel the plants in there in photo 9 are just under spec. And if you leave your meeting today and if your car's out there, just walk over there and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Those, to me, most of them don't have even very many leaves. And I just feel, I do believe the LMP did come in and add some more plants because the spacing was quite wide. But I think the spec, we just need to get better plants in there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have another question. Between John and Keith, the status of the Brazilian peppers, the resident that came and spoke to us, where are we with that? And
I'm still waiting on the gentleman to get it chipped and take them out to these areas and get it chipped and put, taken out.
Can we do that? Can we chip?
Yes.
We can.
Yes. And Chris has got a gentleman that they've been using, that is doing that very thing in some of the other communities. Just be advised, we've got, 27 wetlands with lots of, and so it'll just be hit here, try to get, we're not gonna go all the way into the wetlands, just on the outside, get the worst of it.
Right, just clean it up, make it look better, Thank you.
So
Okay.
we're waiting still on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I highly recommend that you do it when they're not in seed. We made the mistake and did our Brazilian peppers had another CDD when they were full of seed. Well, that just spreads it. And so I highly recommend we do it, careful when we do it, but also once the tree is cut, just make sure that the trunk of it is painted in Garlon, and that will kill that remaining trunk, and so it does not come back again.
He only takes out the
Make sure
dead
we
ones
do.
is what we're planning on doing, or just the ones that are dead.
Okay.
So if the tree is dead and then it's chipped, we're not gonna be spreading seeds in there because the seed pod will be dead. Okay, that sounds like a plan.
John, I only had one question on proposal number 78054. This is to remove the magnolias on the backside of the River Club parking lot.
Yes.
There's a recommendation to install sable palms. Are you comfortable with the sables?
Yes, that was my recommendation. You can look at the back of my report. There's for 8 proposals, 8 separate proposals, and that's for number 5. If you, that photo, I circled in yellow the crappy looking magnolias, pardon my French. Take them out because they're right next to oak trees. You can't even tell they're there really, and they're not in great shape. So I'm suggesting, if anything, I would just say a trio of sables. Okay. The only, I didn't see a proposal come in for number 8, which is the triangular turf area. It's there by the power lines, right in front of the Marcello Monument. That poor monument, I mean, it just has some, well, as you can see, some not very good looking, Bahia looking turf there. And it would be great if we could get that looking nice in St. Augustine, beautiful green sod, as well as item 6, in the emergency exit down there. Where is that, Palermo, I believe? Yeah, Palermo. We've got 3 or 4 dying East Palatka hollies. I did not see that proposal come in either. So it's number 6 and number 8 that I don't think we got proposals for.
Yeah, John, there's an issue with the East Palatka holly, so he's just looking for good substitutes for that. He'll present.
Yeah, I was placing there the sweet gums.
Right. Okay. I'll follow up with her.
Okay.
So these estimates fall within my authority for approval. They're separate estimates. They also fall within the chair's approval authority. I wanted to present them to the board so that you could see what John was recommending in the event that you had questions or there were any recommended changes. I have talked to Rick about these. We talked about them last week. That's the only reason why I haven't moved forward with approval. I wanted to make sure you got a chance to review them along with John's report and LMP's response.
Has John seen LMP's response, which is really
Yes.
excellent, by the way, guys?
Yeah, at the end of the proposal.
Oh, he's seen it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the other question I always have is where is it gonna come from? Because when I look at the landscaping budget, we don't have that much left for replacements of trucks.
Correct. These total to $7,208
That's
and
what I came
88
up with.
cents. Year to date, $11,105. So we would be very close to our $20,000 budget approving these. I want to make sure the board's aware of that.
Okay. Do we have anything left in reserves that could help?
I'd have to go back and re-review the schedule that you and I reviewed 2 months ago.
Just board what it means, and John, it'd be the next 4 months, we don't have much money to spend on any landscape replacement if we do this. But I think we need to do this, it's time, but Just to
The
be
only
aware of
change
that.
that I was suggesting perhaps making would be for estimate number 78078. That is for the podocarpus around that narrow island behind the service area. Again, 8250 for a 7-gallon podocarpus. Yes, a 3-gallon would be smaller and not as effective right at first, but with good irrigation in there and good fertilizer and some TLC, I think we could get that hedge in good shape before too long, as opposed to spending 8250 on one plant. And there's 29 of them. That would be the only change I would make to a proposal here.
We would have to pinch in more plants, of course, given the size of the 3-gallon compared to the 7. And I think we went with 7. I don't know if you remember our conversation, John, because of the existing size of the podocarpus that's next to it.
Correct.
I.e. the reason for using podocarpus to begin.
Yeah. Yeah, and yes, it definitely is a much more immediate effect, but I wouldn't change the spacing using a 3-gallon. I always space for the maturity of the plant, not for the immediate effect. So it just said we'd have to have some patience for it to grow in.
So Chris, can you revise that proposal and send it to me, please?
The only question that I had on this, Chris, we're doing a lot of work out by the tiki outside the building, by the pool, and putting mulch outside the gym. Do we need to do that now? Is it gonna be, is the work that we're doing out there gonna be in any way affected by adding this mulch at this particular point? It's only $250, but.
It's hard to sit behind that,
Okay.
like a wall.
Okay.
Like a 3-foot barrier.
Okay.
I believe that's what it is.
It's not going to affect anything.
It's an entry point.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Just question.
Any other questions for John?
Yeah.
John, thank you very much.
Thanks,
We really
John.
appreciate you attending and all of your assistance.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Before we move forward, it's 10:52. Does anybody
Now,
have a
is
break?
he cool with everything? Do they have any questions?
I mean, the viburnum, I think we've already filled some of those gaps. Again, time of year also helps to dictate the size of plants. So if we're buying plants in the fall, you can imagine those plants are gonna be smaller just because of the growth season. And, you know, it depends on that, what the nursery can provide us. Also, that area is shaded. And so you're not gonna get the growth pattern that you would get with something of viburnum that's in full sun all day. So that would be my only kind of conflict with that area. We should have gone with larger plants because again, it's a shaded area.
You're going to look at those cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, we already sent a guy in there, cleaned out all the berries. So we also sprayed with weeds. Of course, we're in a rainy time as well. So we use a product called Stickum when we spray the weeds, which helps that chemical to apply to the weed. But if we get rain right after that, it becomes, and to have obviously the whole entire team come down here and hand pull weeds is just not a problem. So we are following up with spray. I've got my spray guys in here. We're on a 3-week revolution of chemical application. In Venetian, I think we've already gone to a 2-week, and that includes every area that is visible. So yes, cul-de-sacs, new plantings definitely included in that. Our production manager did those specifically.
We got one of our bougainvillea trees gone.
Yes, per the report, we sprayed it, but it was a recommendation that it was not looking good.
It hadn't looked good for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
Looked like it was
We pulled.
on life support, so,
Yeah, that's what that.
thank you.
Okay, guys. Yeah, take a break.
Okay, does anybody need a break?
Sure,
Okay, it is 10:54 a.m. We're going to be off the record for 10 minutes.
okay.
Okay. We are back on the record at 11:07 a.m. Supervisors, before we move forward on the agenda, Nancy has been patiently waiting. I would ask the board to please consider moving up item number 5E next so that Nancy can present, actually 5D, which is the consideration of the proposals for the purchase of the pool furniture. Nancy?
Sure.
You notice I'm standing here and on the golf course, they call this bitch wings, like, let me go.
Oh, she didn't see that.
Thank you for letting, is this on?
I don't think so.
Hello?
There.
Thank you for letting me go.
Hang on to it, yes.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, is everyone happy? Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
All right, so I'm talking about the pool furniture quote, which Belinda sent you certain materials on, so I hope that you have them in front of you. So basically, our committee has been exploring over the last couple of months pool furniture options for the new tiki area and the additional chaise lounges that we need. So we've been looking at commercial grade tiki vendors or brands, doing a lot of research, going to many different retail vendors to explore various options of brands that are available. Some of them didn't carry what we needed, not in the stores, but in terms of making the product we needed. Some were just polymer, some didn't have bar seats, etc. So based on all of that investigation, we concluded that Tropitone was the best brand that we wanted to pursue. And that is what our current product is that we have out there that we've had for 8 or 10 years. So focusing on the Tropitone line, we looked at the various designs that they had available and used the services of a professional interior decorator who worked on a volunteer basis and came up with these. Well, you have it in your package, the Cabana Club line that we are suggesting. And determined what the placement of the furniture is that we thought was best to capitalize on the new tiki bar. So we're recommending 5 dining style tables, 42-inch tables in the front part of the bar, 14 bar seats, 4 high top square bar height tables, 36-inch squares with bar seats around them, and then 20 chaise lounges, which will go in the area in front of the tennis courts and in the area in front of the pond. So the total furniture count is 90 pieces of furniture. We will reutilize everything that we currently have by moving it to the other sides of the pool area, everything that's possible of being used. So based on that count and the Tropitone Cabana Club selection, we went to 3 vendors to get quotes for the exact same items at each vendor. So that's what you see in each of the 3 columns there, the pricing for the 3 vendors. So I broke it into 2 pieces, the umbrellas separately and the furniture separately. So if you look at the different pricing, we are recommending going with vendor number 1, which is $47,836, which is not exactly equivalent to vendor 2 and vendor 3 because of the delivery charges related to each number 2, and number 3 is really just out of the ballpark in terms of pricing, way higher. I did not go back to vendor 2 to ask them to re-quote a delivery program that was equivalent to vendor 1. So that is not really apples and oranges. in looking at vendor one and vendor two. What we got quoted for the delivery was a drop ship delivery, which we talked with Paul and Miles, Ernest, and our committee with. This would be, the stuff would be delivered, and then we would open the boxes and put the stuff in the pool area instead of a red envelope. Red envelope, is that the right term? White glove. White glove delivery, which would be the vendor actually opening everything and setting it up for us, which would be about another $3,000. And they felt that we were capable of opening the boxes and setting up the equipment. It's it's for the most part comes assembled, so it's not a lot of screwing things together, and most of it is not very heavy. The only things that are heavy are the tables, which will weigh 118 pounds, but there's not too many of them. So I think it's worth saving the money to do the drop ship option and saving that money. So presumably, if we went back to vendor two, we could ask them to quote it on a drop ship basis. I found vendor one to be extremely responsive to me. I had numerous meetings with them, lots of questions, lots of answers. I really thought they were a vendor that we could work with that would be very helpful to us all along the way, based on the way that they responded to us in the quote process. So forgetting the umbrellas, which I'm going to talk about separately, I would recommend going ahead with vendor one.
Is that the same company that, are they on Knight's Trail?
No, they are, as you drive into the city of Venice, middle bridge, right behind Splash.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people here use them for pool construction and buying pool supplies.
I thought they were the pool company, but I thought they were on Knight's Trail. They're behind Splash.
Yeah, they have a big showroom there. It's quite an operation. It's a privately owned company, husband and wife company that are there. Can I answer questions for you? Yep.
I noticed you have all armless chairs. Is there a reason for that?
Yes. There were a number of things that we did once we started the initial quote process. I try to capsulize it so I didn't talk for hours with you, but when we went to get the initial quotes, they came in a lot higher than this, and we were trying to focus on, we had in our mind a $50,000 total was about what we thought the max should be, and so we reduced all of the armchairs to armless, and that's a savings of about $100 per chair. So that was thousands and thousands of dollars less by getting the armless chairs.
Don't you usually, like in a seating, have like 2 regular chairs and 2 armchairs? I'm just wondering why we wouldn't do that for our population.
We could certainly do that at an increased cost. So we have dining side chairs, 26 dining side chairs. So it would be probably about $3,000 more if we did all of them as armed. I think in the bar chairs, especially around the bar, it's probably better to not have the armed chairs, just in terms of being able to slide into the seat, and then from a space perspective. And from a monetary standpoint, I think we would be glad to go with armed chairs on the tables. It was so much more money, and we were trying to be economical.
I like that.
I knew you would. There were a number of things like that we made changes to from the start to the finish. Other questions? Yep. Go ahead, Ken.
Question, I want to be clear on the umbrellas.
I'm going to talk about that separately. So right now, I just, and I'll give a little spiel on that, and then you can ask your question about the umbrellas. But this is just the furniture questions, if you could have any on those.
What's the estimated delivery time?
forever.
Like thought.
Probably about 8 months.
Okay.
It's like everything else we're ordering these days, supply chain and whatnot, and they can't predict with certainty, but it will be quite a while. And when I get to talk about the umbrellas are on a quicker delivery, but that doesn't help us very much. So, about 8 months.
Okay.
I do have a question. Is
Nancy, I'm
is
sorry,
this
looking at the
50?
delivery time,
Yes, 8 months.
8 months.
Yes.
Is the fifth table really necessary in the middle? This one? That one?
Well,
I'm more curious. It seems like there's now, that would be 55 people sitting out there. And
I think that one of the things that we focused on is all of the furniture all throughout the pool area is at the end of its useful life. The reserve shows it being replaced in 3 years. So whatever we order now is really sort of the first step in ordering what we need for the future. So whatever we get now, whether or not we can duplicate it and get the same product down the road, I don't know. But not getting it just defers getting it later. If you could understand what I mean, it's not like not getting it ever. So,
I think, Nancy, what if we were to eliminate the one table and add
side shoes.
a half a dozen armchairs? Kind of balance out.
Well, I just think it makes good sense as we plan. We're trying to make this a focal point of activity out there in the Tiki area. And if we make it a focal point, you're talking about increasing revenue. Remember that, increasing revenue, which would be, in effect, I would say in about 2 years, we could probably pay for the cost we spend on the furniture with this increased revenue. I think it's necessary to have 5 out. If you go out and you see, most people love sitting at those tables that you described.
the higher top tables.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the end thing, if you've been out lately. And you go to Cooper's Hawk, that's what you see. Or some of the other places.
Well,
So-
I agree with you. And then one of the other things is because they're square tables, they can be lined up together as one. So if you have an event and you want to do like a buffet on all those square tables on one side of the bar, keeping the bar in full operation with all of the seats, there's options for using that. But you do save $840 by and plus the dining chairs associated with that elimination of that one table. I would recommend getting it to make sure that we have enough seating for this new and improved bar, but.
Well, seating has always been an issue, and this is providing more seating for the residents, and I think it's a good idea.
And tell us what color is the fabric?
Okay. It is, once again, worked with the volunteer designer here to ask her what she thought would meld with what we have currently, because we do have the dark brown. And in light of what was available, we also went with A fabric, A, as opposed to BC, which is the lowest cost fabric, but still a good quality. And it would be this twilight color, which is navy.
So solid.
Solid navy, yeah. The options within the fabric, there's quite a few, there's about 50. 40 of them are brown, like light brown, dark brown, medium brown, and then orange, yellow, blue, green.
And I'm assuming that matches the bar top and the tile.
We are coordinating the design of the bar to pick up off of the blue tones, yes.
But those have been chosen.
We have chosen the bar front tile. so far. And that has a navy, a light blue, it's a print tile, cement tile. I don't know if you've seen them. It's not a Mexican looking, it's a print tile, and yes, it has the blue in it.
Italian look.
It goes very well with the sort of theme that we have here, and yes, it picks up that color. And I'll talk about the umbrellas next if you are done with this. So-
Nancy, I just have one question.
Yeah.
I didn't see the proposals, but these are sales tax exempt, correct?
Yes,
Would you repeat that? These are?
Sales tax
Oh,
exempt.
yes, yeah.
Thank you, Nancy.
and there, the monetary aspect of them, I have it on here, is 50% down and 50% when we get it, which we found from every vendor. Okay, so on umbrellas, we also did a lot of investigation on this. Tropitone umbrellas are extremely expensive, and we decided that they were too pricey for us to consider. Another brand of umbrellas that is highly regarded is called Frankfurt, and two of the vendors suggested that we go with the Frankfurt brand. It is the only commercially approved crank umbrella made in the United States, period. It is a high quality umbrella. It has fiberglass spokes, so it's very wind resistant because they can bend, and it has a special kind of way that the crank is made that is better than most of those in the industry, which is why it's commercially approved. And it also has a fade warranty, which I found amazing. The vendor says they've never had a claim for the warranty because it's never faded. I don't believe that necessarily, but that's what they say. So the Frankfurt umbrellas from vendor one are $567 per umbrella. That's a 7.5 foot umbrella with a crank. We do not need bases, which are very expensive, because we've gone with all pedestal tables. And the reason we went with pedestal tables is because the pedestal table has the base incorporated in it, and that's why they weigh 118 pounds. So we're saving on bases for each of those umbrellas, about $300 per umbrella. So this isn't apples and oranges from the different vendors. The vendor 3 quoted a higher diameter umbrella, 9 foot umbrella. We measured 9 feet, and we just said that umbrella is going to be gigantic, way too big. They thought it was necessary because it would cover every person in every seat, but we just didn't think that that was necessary, so we went with the 7.5. The umbrella from vendor 2 is just not the same kind of quality umbrella, so we could purchase it, but it would not last the length of time that these umbrellas are expected to last for. So I think we're better off going with the Frankfurt umbrella, and I think it will stand up to a number of years of service for us. We could go with the non-crank one, which would be cheaper, and people would have to pull on the whatever you call the thing. We went with only 5 umbrellas, 1 umbrella on each of the tables. We have not incorporated any umbrellas by the chaise lounges. We do want to, but we were kind of focused on keeping at this $50,000 total cost. So we would need another $5,000 in the budget to get umbrellas near the chaise lounges. So you could tell us if we could consider doing that, but right now we have not incorporated that in our plan. And then one of the reasons that I separated the umbrellas to the bottom, separate from the furniture, is because we're still debating the color of the umbrellas that the committee wants to recommend. So we want to have our meeting in July and talk again about the options that we have for colors for the umbrellas. That is a TBD. Yes.
Several years ago, I believe it was Rich brought up the idea of sales for shade out there. Has your committee talked about that at all, rather than individual umbrellas?
Well, we've talked about it. People were not enthused about doing shades in the front part of the bar area over these tables, just because it's a permanent non-sun covered area. In other words, it's always in the shade. And they thought the umbrellas was a better option. Could be open, could be closed, depending on the circumstance. Although one of the comments that I am getting over and over and over again is, why doesn't the bar have any, retractable shades or whatever to cover the bar seats? And that's, residents are not thinking that that's not a good idea to build the bar without the retractable shades. And I know the answer is the budget. So I get it. I'm just presenting what people are saying about it. So I do think over the bar seats, we could consider like a shade going this way towards the tennis court that would cover some of these bar seats and maybe one of the tables, and that would give a shade area. But I have not gotten a lot of support from people I've talked to in the committee about having a full shade in the front area as a permanent structure.
Okay, there's one or the other, umbrellas or sails.
I think there's a little more to it also. The project had originally talked about lighting and shade in the entire area out there. And that kind of went by the wayside because we really didn't have a good handle on it. The cost was prohibitive. And so part of the discussion was, let's get this thing renovated, and then we can always come back if necessary and put some shade out there in a better conceived idea. It's going to be an expensive item. The sales are just crazy expensive.
The sails are not that much. The retractable awnings are crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And I think the concern that people have is, these bar seats in the front, the people are, because the bar is coming out a little bit farther this way, there's no shade on the backs of the people that are sitting there. And also the sun comes in from the side. So people are concerned that the bar is so exposed to sun, and shade is, one of the things that people have talked about repeatedly that they want. But, at some point you can only do what you can do. So that's the story now. Now, Ken, you had a question about the umbrellas.
Yeah, the 7.5 foot umbrellas do not come with a tilt option.
They do come with the tilt option. It is slightly more expensive, about $200 more per umbrella. We were speccing out for the table area non-tilt umbrellas, but we would want tilt umbrellas in the next to the chaise lounges, but we don't right now have any umbrellas next to them because we would need $5,000 more in our budget to be able to add more umbrellas with the tilt. So we could get tilt umbrellas. It's the $200 more per umbrella.
Interestingly, though, the price, I know the 9-foot one you feel is too big, but they're quoting the 9-foot one as crank tilt, and it's $30 more than the 7.5 foot.
It is, yeah. That vendor had a better price than the first vendor, and when I went back to each of the vendors and said to them, your pricing needs to be as competitive as possible. Vendor one reduced their umbrella pricing to the $567 in like a best and final that I gave them, and they were originally higher. So, you're right. It's not that much of a difference, but I don't think they'll do that umbrella for $597, is what I'm saying. They've already dropped their price from what they originally quoted me.
I guess what I'm saying is, if you chose to go with a larger umbrella. and
Yes.
Maybe greater spacing between the tables, or something like that. The umbrellas could be bought from Elegant and the rest of the stuff from Indigo, right? I mean, you're not tied into buying everything from one vendor.
We could do that. I don't know if we went to them and said, instead of a $70,000 deal,
I hear you.
we
Right.
want
Just wanna
these
buy
few
from
things from you. So, to me,
Yeah.
I would stick with the one vendor. The other thing is, the umbrellas are on a shorter delivery period, because we're picking a stock fabric. And so that's probably only like 1 or 2 months. And I've talked with, just briefly without any kind of assertion that this can be done, is the vendor one thinks either the Frankfurt will keep the umbrellas if we order them now and deliver them later, or vendor one will store them for us until we want them, because we don't want them brought over here until we have all the rest of the stuff for our big reveal.
Just seems like a tilt option
reveal.
with our son is a good feature to have. Is it worth asking? I mean.
Well, we can get it. I mean, it's all a matter
Why do you
of,
think, what, it's too big?
yeah, I have a quote for the tilt option. I just didn't put it on here because it wasn't our recommendation, but the tilt option was, crank auto tilt, $614 per umbrella.
Realistically, how often would we use the tilt option? In order to tilt it, you're going to have a pool attendant come over and do it. The
Oh, no.
residents aren't gonna stand on the chair or anything.
No, they're really easy to tilt. I don't want to disagree with you, but they're very easy to tilt. This was a very impressive umbrella in terms of how easy it was to make it function. Well, no, I don't recommend the 9 foot. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think we should go with 7.5 foot, but if you want to do the tilt, I think it's,
$300 more. You mean total, not per umbrella.
yeah, 567 to 614 times 5.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not much.
Right. So, it's a small amount of money to add to it and have the tilt option if it's necessary to use. Sometimes you have to tilt it because of wind or whatever. It would probably be more functional. And it's not that much more.
Right, it's not.
Yeah, I would go with the tilt.
Okay.
Okay. that's-
Rich thinks, Ken thinks tilt.
I think the tilt.
I'll go with.
It's an option.
I
think
withdraw
tilt-
my
tilt
objection.
is a good idea.
What about adding any additional umbrellas to the chaise lounge area? Because right now we don't have any new umbrellas for that area.
You have to add bases or tables, correct?
We have to have bases. So I would say it'd be $5,000 for about 5 umbrellas.
I hate to, the sun is terrible out there, particularly on that area. Over here, you can hug under some trees. Over there, you never get any shade. And I think a few at least. We're going this far, I think it'd be a mistake. I'm not so sure we're gonna ever come to conclusion on sales or whatever the shading is gonna be out there.
Would be nice to have more shade. Seating and shade are the two things you hear a lot about. And for another $4,500 to $5,000, you can probably do it with tables and everything, and that's not a bad price.
How many, at $5,000, how many more umbrellas would you get?
Well, I have to get a quote for including the base, but I'm thinking it's going to be, close to $900 or $1,000 for a base and a tilted umbrella. So 5,000 is going to give us 5 umbrellas.
That would be a nice array on that side.
it would really make the area look nicer. And it, not to have any umbrellas in that area, I think is not a good idea per Rich's comment. And moving some of the old shaded, ready to be thrown away rust umbrellas near the new chaise lounges really probably isn't the best idea either. So, I would appreciate being able to spend another $5,000 and get 5 more umbrellas.
I think it's worth it. I mean, if we're gonna do it, we should do it right.
Yeah.
And it should be appealing. I hear what Ernest says. I agree with him about this being a focal point, that it's gonna generate revenue. People are comfortable seated, they're in a shaded area, they have a drink, then they have a second one. I think it works out fine. So, then they don't care about them.
I don't care about that.
They get the shade. No. It is wide open. It does need shade.
Yes.
So we can provide it for possibly another $5,000. And I don't think the bases are gonna be that much. I mean, if the umbrellas are 600.
I think the bases are about $250 to $300 a base. Yeah.
Nancy,
Yes.
maybe I didn't hear you well. Why do we need the bases for these 5 umbrellas?
We don't need bases for the 5 umbrellas that I have on the list here because all of the tables are pedestal style tables. So they have a center rod with a big base already. And so the round dining tables weigh 118 pounds. We're not getting umbrellas on the square tables, but they weigh 112 pounds. They're also pedestal. So they're weighty enough to incorporate what a base would. But when we put the umbrellas near the chaise lounges, we need bases because they gotta be held down by something.
Okay.
All right, so it seems as though Indigo has the best price. And this was incorporated into the whole plan with the tiki bar, right? So
Well, it's not in the tiki budget per se, it's in the capital reserves plan that was expected to be expended.
but the tiki bar is under budget, what we had
No
expected.
more,
Not
no
anymore?
more, no more.
I must have missed a meeting.
We've thrown the landscape into it.
Okay, all
We've
right,
thrown the
Right.
gate into it, I suspect. So we're getting, and we're running out of any contingency money in that project. So
I'm assuming this would come out of the capital budget.
this is
That's correct.
certainly an expenditure.
So we're moving into the 3-hour mark already, and we still have a public hearing. At this point, I think Nancy's looking for direction from the board as to how we want to proceed on this issue.
I just have one more question.
Yep.
The chaises on this side that come down, are there side tables, are there any tables with them?
We're incorporating 5 small cocktail tables
That's already in that amount.
that look like this. Yes.
That's.
So not every chaise will have a table next to it, but
that's
some
different, that's
will.
already in it.
That's-
The issue is the umbrellas and the bases now.
Yes, because these are just the little low, small 20 inchers.
Okay.
So are we gonna proceed with this?
I would recommend a not to exceed amount for these.
Okay, I would make a motion that we select Indigo, their proposal, plus an additional $5,000 to cover those umbrellas that were referred to earlier.
How about not to exceed 55,000?
Not to exceed 55,000. Yes.
Is that good, Nancy?
That's good, and you prefer the tilt option on
I think the tilt is-
all of the umbrellas?
Yeah.
Hang on a second, Nancy. Can we have a second to that motion, please?
I'll second.
Go ahead, Nancy.
And you prefer the tilt option to all the umbrellas, so that's the only change here, and we're not adding any arms to the tables, is that, to the chairs?
Chair, that's correct.
None? You don't want like a few?
I do, but nobody else does.
Okay. I just want to make sure I know what you're asking about. In in terms of going ahead and executing this and arranging for the 50% down, do I talk to Julie about how do we?
You would send me a check request and then we would coordinate with Vesta for it.
Okay, so I'm going through Belinda. Okay.
We need a vote.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Rick, I didn't hear you.
Aye.
I can't hear you, Rick.
Aye. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you so much. A
Thank
lot of
you
hard
so
work went
much.
into this and appreciate
Good job.
that.
Thank you for your unwavering dedication to this project, as well as to the other members of the committee that are here, Richard, Libby, and all. Thank you so much, all of you. But Nancy has spent in excess of 100 hours on this project.
Not to mention my husband.
That's
and
true.
Mark and his wife, who
Oh,
have
yeah,
been
Mark.
on many of our field trips.
Yes. It's going to look nice.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Well done.
Nancy.
Thank you.
Supervisors, moving forward, we're now going to go back to item number 5B, which is the acceptance of the audit for fiscal year end September 30th, 2021, as prepared by Berger, Toombs, Elam, Hayes, and Frank. This is behind tab number 3 for your review. So just a few points for the Board of Supervisors to consider. Is the auditor's opinion unqualified for the district? Yes. An unqualified opinion is the auditor's opinion of the financial statements given without any reservations. Such an opinion basically states that the auditor feels the district followed all accounting rules appropriately and that the financial reports are an accurate representation of the district's financial condition. Instances or adverse findings reported for this district? No. You can see this information in pages 30 and 31. Instances or adverse findings reported for this district in the current year? No. Instances or adverse findings reported in the district in the prior year? No. Are there questions?
The only question I have is, I'd like the Finance Committee to have copies of these. Can we get maybe 6 copies of this made?
We can. Keith, can you have
Could you
those?
do 6 or 7? 7 copies. I don't know if any of the board members want it, but I think the Reserve Committee would.
We'll also make sure that's uploaded on the website as well, so if anybody needs access to it, it's on the website. Any questions? There are no questions, we'd be looking for a motion to accept the audit as presented.
Motion.
First motion by Ernest, second by Rick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Ernest?
Aye.
Thank you.
I have somewhat of a related question. We have to go all the way over to the East Coast to find auditors that do CDDs?
No, actually, your audit is advertised via an RFP process.
Okay.
So as you recall, we had a few other auditors that submitted, but Berger Toombs was selected
Right.
based on the evaluation criteria at the time of the RFP.
One of the questions that was asked at the time, Ernest, I'm not sure if you
I wasn't on.
weren't on the board then, was, well, they're on the East Coast, does that make a difference? With everything being done electronically, they could be in California, it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
And, that was a concern that was expressed at the time, but the answer, I accepted the answer that was given, and obviously it's working.
Okay, see, I'm used to auditors coming in to do the presentation, and then people having questions and all.
You can
That's-
ask that as part of your,
And not be in charge of fly over here from the East Coast. Okay, but, okay, I have no problems. I've already said, and I accepted.
Okay,
thank you. We're now going to move forward with item number 5C, which is the public hearing to adopt the new fees and amendments to the rules for usage of the River Club. These are behind tab number 4 for your review. We do need a motion at this time to open up the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is now open. Andy?
Thank you. Board will likely recall that just procedural, what we follow with motion and a second to open as we've done. We'll take comments from the public, a motion and a second to close the public hearing, then the board can have their deliberations. And then we prepared a resolution for adoption of the revised rules if you so choose. The basis for this public hearing is that one sheet that you have towards the front there, which was originally brought forward by Vesta, Rudy, I believe, in terms of establishing some charges for meeting setup. I don't believe in the chart that's included in your agenda package there's been any other changes other than the inclusion of this one additional item. We did receive some public comments ahead of this public hearing with some proposed changes. Probably going to hear more about that today. But if not, what I'll do is I'll reserve my comments until we've heard from the public, and I might have some proposed revisions.
Andy?
Yes, sir.
Is this whole schedule open for changes, or are we just limited to the meeting room setup and tear down question?
No, the whole thing is open for discussion, Ken.
Okay. I would like to propose a couple of changes.
Let's do the public comment first.
Yeah, Ken, it's up to you, but it'd be my recommendation that perhaps we might want to hear from the public first, and then the board can have their discussion. But if you want to bring them up now, that's your prerogative as well.
I'm not sure I got you comment.
What I was trying to say is that it may be beneficial to hear from the public first, and then the board can have whatever deliberations they'd like. But it's your prerogative. If you want to bring it up now, you certainly can.
Well, I'd like to only because there may be public comment on it.
Okay.
So I will be proposing a couple of changes. Two of them relate to tennis. I'd like to propose the tennis day guest fee go from $10 to $15. And the reason for that is to cover obviously the wear and tear, time taken away from residents. You know, one of the issues with lessons in the morning boards, because it would take time away from resident use. And I think guests I do the same thing. And we did increase the salary of the tennis director because he wasn't being allowed to give lessons in the mornings. So there's a cost increase there that the guest fee would help to offset. So from I'm proposing to go to $15 from $10. I would also propose a tennis ball machine usage fee of $10 per half hour from $0 today for the reasons. And I have one more proposed change, and that would be to the indoor fitness classes to reinstate a $4 per class fee for the two indoor fitness classes, aerobic and specialty. And that would be to help defray the cost, the instructors, which is going up constantly, and it's tens of thousands of dollars at this point, or thousands of dollars. That's it.
Ken, weren't those fitness fees $2 per class?
They were $2.
They're currently $0.
Yeah, I know that. But back when we had them, they were $2, and then they went to $0. You're proposing proposing 4?
Well, I think they started at 4 or 5 and went down to 2 and then to 0.
That could
It
be.
just seems like a $4 charge to help defray the cost of the instructors is fairly nominal.
Are we ready to move with opening up for comment for the public?
Sure.
Okay, so we're gonna open it up for public comment at this time. Again, this is a public hearing specific to the new fees and amendments to the rules for usage of the River Club. And we're going to ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. Go ahead, Keith. Jill?
Thanks very much. Actually, just a quick question about the setup fees, because I certainly appreciate where the situation, the room setup fees for the staff, and I think it's fair that they're compensated. Specifically on the fees, is this, I noticed in the document that Rudy had prepared, it talked about, the HOA, the POA, I think the community association, I assume HOA referring to the subs. Is there also an intention to charge the card groups work? So it's a question for you more than anything else. So that's all I had to say. Thanks.
I don't think there was. In as much as the quad groups tend to use the dining tables, things like that. Yeah.
Because
With
that's
that
the
order set up.
impression that there is,
Yeah.
so you may want to dispel it.
Yeah, I don't think there was an intention there.
Okay.
Anybody feel differently about that? No.
Okay.
Nope.
Cool.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
I agree and disagree with some of Ken's suggestions. I can't see increasing the tennis fee, which is already substantially more than 0 for the fitness fees, 0 for the pool. I don't see how that makes sense. There's wear and tear on all of the club. So I have to disagree with him on that. I do agree with raising the fitness fee, whether it's $2 or $4. There should be some compensation brought back to the club. That's my feeling.
Pat, I think when we looked at tennis fees, maybe 18 months ago or whatever, I think it was Pam Perry that did an overview, and $10, we weren't charging anything for guests. $10 was the lowest that anybody of the 20 or so clubs that she investigated.
I did that survey.
Oh, you did it?
I
Okay.
did too, prior to Pam. 10's kind of the average.
It is?
Plantation was 15. It's pretty much 10 everywhere. But in view of the other amenities that people use for free, I don't think that's fair to raise it. I agree with the guest fee.
Yeah.
I'm good with the $10, but that's my reason.
Okay.
Nobody pays for the other 2.
Thanks, Pat.
Hi, I just have 2 questions. I wasn't aware that we are still allowing non-residents to be a member of our club.
You're talking about
Resident, non-member fee, non-resident.
the $3,500?
Yeah.
Oh, that's always been.
We have to. It's required by law.
Yeah. We don't have anybody that's taking advantage of it right now. I think
Yes, we do.
we had one
Silver-
person. Oh, we still do have one?
Silver.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we have to do that.
Why do we have to do that?
It's a public facility, and as a public, that was constructed, owned by the CDD, which is a public entity, constructed with, or purchased with tax exempt bond funds. So it is a public facility which needs to remain open to the public. That does not mean that we can't charge the public. And so what we've done is establish this annual membership fee. And that is the reasoning behind it.
And I think the fee is twice the resident fee.
Okay.
So
No.
it's $3,500. It's,
It ends up being 3,500.
Yeah.
But Andy, you correct me if I'm wrong. The River Club setup fee. River Club assessment is two parts, the debt and operation and maintenance. Can't charge you for the debt, correct?
Well, what we've done in constructing this fee, and we did a study on this a long, long time ago, but we took into account what the residents pay as well as the cost for a comparable club. And we sort of melded those figures together and came up with the calculation.
And if you correct me if I'm wrong, we also build into that they're using our roads and the entrance. I mean, it was a bunch of stuff that.
Jason Pierman actually worked
Yes.
on it, which was many, many years ago.
But it
prior
wasn't
to
just
Rosetta.
the resident assessment. Works out.
Okay, thank you, Andy, appreciate that.
So we're obligated to provide it.
Okay, I did not realize that, and that's because the CDD is now in charge of the River Club. Before, when it was under the POA, it was private,
Different situation.
different
correct.
situation. Thank you. My other question is, why is the River Club daily guest fee 0?
You're talking about, like if I bring a friend?
Well, I don't know, on this thing it says, find it.
It's about midway
It says,
down.
I'm sorry?
It's about midway down.
Yeah, River Club daily guest fee is 0. Why is that?
I'm not sure if I know what that refers to, except if I bring a friend to the pool.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
But you've already paid to bring that guest to the pool because you've got a guest pass, which you've already paid for. My question is what does this mean? I mean, it seems to be either ambiguous or non-essential line. It's one or the other, because why would they pay 0? If I've got somebody coming in here daily, why aren't they paying something to come in here daily?
Well, don't we have a maximum use provision in there?
But who abides by that? I mean, some of this stuff, we're either going to put it into play or we're not. I mean, it just seems ridiculous to have something on there, a line item that says 0, when somebody's gonna say, well, I have a guest, I don't have to pay anything, when that's not the case. They're supposed to be getting a guest pass from Lisa and pay for that guest pass for either a certain period of time or, I mean, this just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just a question, it just kind of seems to be contradictory to what we really have in place right now.
All right, maybe we could take a look at what that says. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really speak.
Are you talking about tennis?
I'll give you my copy.
It's here in your tablet, Richard, page 77.
Okay.
If you
Page
scroll
77?
down, page 77.
Okay.
Rich?
She's referring to River Club day guest fee 0, and there's a charge for a guest access card, $10 per card.
Okay.
And the information you were talking about, Rich, is a little bit higher up the chart when you're over a certain number, whether it's 6 or 4 non-residents, et cetera, you're paying $100 per person annually, et cetera. I think that's what you were recalling.
Rich, I think there's a discrepancy. The $10 guest card fee has been charged, but I've never seen it in the River Club rules.
River Club daily guest fee 0.
Day guest.
I got it.
Thank you.
I don't know. I
don't recall.
I don't have an answer. All right.
Okay, and then I have one more question on the item right above that. Sorry,
Access card?
The guest access card is $10 per card, maximum 2 cards, and a $15 replacement card. $10 per card for how long a period of time? It's not permanent to the household that you can have 2 guests anytime you want.
I have 2.
I know you do, and that's not the way it was supposed to be done.
Oh, well, I had the option of buying 1 or 2, and at $10 a piece. So if I have a guest that's staying at the house, I call and say, okay, would you activate it for the next 4 days?
And you only paid that one $10 fee though. You have not paid every time you wanted a guest to come and they were different guests, which
No,
you
that
should
wasn't-
have.
Oh, I didn't think that was the intent. And if that is the intent, then the next time I activate it, I owe.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think
that's
that was-
supposed to be the intent. I mean, that's the way of making revenue for the club. Is to have, wasn't meant to be given as a permanent card. It was meant to be given to provide you access during the period of time that you had your visitors.
I don't know that to be so. I understood it differently. So,
I know, and this is something that was brought up at a previous meeting, so
Yeah.
that's why I think we need a little bit of a clarification on that. And again, it's very ambiguous, and I don't think they were meant to be permanent visitor cards. I think they were meant to be given at the period of time that the people were here. And then if you had guests again, you paid another $10 for either that card or another card. So if I'm wrong, I stand corrected, but that was my understanding of what they were.
we have different.
We have different understanding
Right,
of it.
and I've expressed that before here, so
Yes.
you've heard me say that.
Yeah, because somebody
I
else
don't
has
know
the same question.
I don't know what my fellow supervisors feel on that. I don't know if they've even gotten.
I mean, it would be a piece of cake to pay $10 and get 2 cards and be able to have guests anytime we wanted.
I would imagine there's always ways to abuse everything, but that's not the intent, though.
Okay.
That was not the intent at all.
All right,
Okay.
that was it. That was all I had. Thank you
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you. Any other
If
questions?
I may, I had the same understanding, I guess, as the speaker, and maybe it was a wrong understanding. But when my family came down, I went and got the card. And I thought it was for the week that they were there, and then I returned the card. And Lisa was surprised that I returned the card. But I guess those 2 items go hand in hand. If the day guest fee is 0, then the $10 is really just to pay for the card. So I guess in that regard, those things are consistent, and all you're doing is paying a $10 fee for the convenience of having the card, because the guest fee itself is 0.
But Ken, you're saying your impression was that every time you reactivated it, there was a $10 charge?
Yes.
I've only
But
used
I
it
guess
once.
that's not
I don't know.
Right.
What about the rest of it?
Well, I have a fundamental question about this. If you bring your grandkids up here and your daughter and son-in-law for a day to use the pool, do you have to pay for that?
No.
Well, they're guests.
The house guest,
I'm sorry?
the house guest.
My sister comes and spends a month with me. She a house guest? If my kids live in Nokomis and they come over for the day and I take them to the pool, they're not house guests. So then I have to pay for them to use the pool. I don't think that's the spirit of what we want here.
That was never the intent.
No.
Never the intent of it at all.
Board, maybe, if you don't mind, just in the interest of time, we'll take additional public comments and then
Sure.
we close the public hearing and have your deliberation.
Sure.
I just wanted to comment on the tennis
For a month,
fees
wouldn't that be the
that are
$100?
indicated on the
Charge
fee
above?
schedule. Ernest, I did send you the corrected, and you're gonna be making that part of the process?
Your latest email to me?
You know what, I'm gonna hand the microphone over and I'll find it again.
on my phone.
For clarification, are you telling us that you're gonna charge $4 a class, including water aerobics?
Well, I don't think that discussion has been finalized.
Okay,
And,
well, I'm
but the proposal, as we heard
concerned
it,
about the $4
was not
as
for the
well as
water.
charging for water aerobics.
Right.
Correct.
And there's a long history with that, that I certainly would like to go into. You're smiling.
Just one other comment. I'd like to see a reduction in the number of times a person can play tennis per week in season. Because we have some players who play every day in season, and I'd like to see a reduction of that number of times they can play in season.
Wouldn't that be for the tennis committee?
Yes, that would be a tennis committee issue, not us.
Correct. Okay, there being no further comment at this time, we do need a motion to
I'll make a
close out
motion
the
that we
public
close
hearing.
public comment.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
The public hearing is now closed, or Ernest still stepped out.
He's trying to find what.
Yes, I'm trying to print something.
Please wait.
We still have a quorum,
Okay,
so
okay, so we're gonna move forward with the discussion. Why don't you go over some of the recommendations?
Okay, I guess we'll take them one by one. From Supervisor Smaha, we had a recommendation to change the tennis ball machine usage fee from $0 to $10 per half hour.
Belinda, are you gonna ask us to vote on these individually, or how are we gonna do this? Because I have some fundamental issues that I want to put on the table.
Go ahead.
We do have a resolution and, for your consideration, which is Resolution 2022-06. Typically, you review, the
Right.
changes, what you'd like, we'd state them for the record, and then you would adopt a resolution. Now is the time to discuss what proposed changes you're recommending, and, we can go, depending on which line, or if you have certain objections, you can raise those at this time as well.
Okay. Well, Andy, I'm gonna just ask for 1 minute here. I think we're back to some discussion here about what are amenities and what are not amenities. And we have been round and round and round on this thing for a lot of years. And many of these issues have been brought before prior boards and been voted on and discussed. So I want to make sure that we're understanding what amenities we have as residents living here.
Okay, I mean, is that something you wanted me to try and?
Well, no,
Okay.
I'm putting that up for consideration of.
Right, I
board.
mean, in particular, just being here, with regards to the fitness classes, I know that's been the subject of discussion many times among the board over the years, so.
Yeah, correct. Well, I'm okay taking them one by one, but.
Let me just mention one thing, which I think might be easy, but perhaps not. With regards to the meeting room setup and tear down, I received a comment from Mike Krejci, and I think that his comment was well-founded in that perhaps we should change the language to say less than 50 attendees would be $25. Instead of less than 100, it would say 51 to 100 would be $50. And then the next category should say greater than 100 would be $100. I think that clarifies that a little better.
I'm good with that. I didn't like the lease thing all along.
Okay, so I think that perhaps if everyone's in agreement, we can make that change. That's a simple thing.
I
Okay,
agree with that.
all right.
Let's talk about the biggest issue was supposed to be the setup, right? Let's do
Right.
that first,
I
and then
agree.
go to the,
Go to the other questions that have come up.
with the setup, we're forever hearing people come in and complain about the River Club deficit. And part of the deficit is the River Club employees getting paid to set up meetings for other groups. Yes, all these other groups are community groups, the POA, That's all us, we know that. But at the same time, the River Club keeps getting banged as far as the deficit. Right now, I believe Bob Evans Restaurants are being sued by their employees for almost this exact same thing. For having the waiters and waitresses take time to do other work other than serve people where they get tips. Our employees, the people who set up the tables and chairs and things in here, don't get any tips when they do that work. They're working for minimum wage.
They're not working for minimum wage. They're working for their server's wage,
Right,
which is
like
damn near
minimum wage.
$8. No.
It's less
If it
than
were minimum wage.
There wouldn't be a conversation. Right, okay.
They're getting
less than minimum
$8.70,
wage.
whatever it is. They're
So
getting
obviously,
a lot.
I'm very much in support of doing this. I think it's the right thing to do, it's the right time to do it, before we end up getting sued by our people.
In the proposal on the table is that any group, it doesn't matter who the group is, everybody will pay these fees.
But this is not including card groups. I think Jill brought up a good point with that. I don't think that was, I talked somewhat with Rudy about this when he was putting this together. And the card group discussion was never part of that. It's 6 women, 4 women, 4 people at a table. Right. So it's for things like this. You know, why do we continually set this room up for, I don't know how many people it's set up for. We had 10 guests today.
So we're gonna charge the CDD a setup fee. Are we not?
It says can be, it doesn't say will be.
Sure. Why is the CDD exempt if we're gonna charge the POA and the other groups? I mean,
Well,
we're a group that uses this.
so we take it out of
Wait a
this
minute.
pocket and put it over here. I don't mind that. Okay, I know. It would be consistent, yes.
Trying to just be consistent with whatever we do here.
Well, then we better be consistent with everything going forward.
I would agree with you.
You know what's coming.
I know what's coming. I'm trying to understand what we're doing here.
1 second, Mr. Kleinglass. Audience members, I'm hearing a lot of sidebar conversations. Please refrain from having additional conversations while the board is holding its discussion. We are recording this meeting and it's very difficult for Ken to hear the discussion and it is being picked up by our recording. So please do not hold sidebar conversations while the board is holding discussion. Go ahead, Mr. Kleinglass.
Well, all I'm asking is that we be consistent in what we do here today. And I think it's a fair question. Does the CDD get a charge for setting up their own?
Why would you charge yourself?
We own it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Why would we charge?
Well, I'm asking that. I mean, are we comfortable saying because we own it, we don't charge ourselves? Maybe that's the answer.
Yes.
Hey, Rick,
Yes.
just to address, Mr. McCafferty's comment,
No, it was Michael.
we're not gonna get sued by employees because we've already agreed to pay them more for the setup and tear down. We did that at a prior meeting. We agreed to have Vesta pay them more. This is just setting up a fee schedule to basically reimburse us for the cost of that additional pay.
Good.
I don't remember it that way, Ken. Did we? We said they should be paid.
Yeah, should. I don't know that we ever voted on it.
I don't know whether they are getting paid. We said they should get paid.
I thought we did.
No, I don't believe so. But this will cover it one way or the other.
To that,
It's up to Vesta anyway.
does Julie know?
If there's additional pay for setups?
Yeah.
No, sir, that's not happening.
Right.
If it was, I didn't know if it was voted on, but it's not a procedure.
Right, because we had said, we were in agreement that they should be paid appropriately, but
It's gonna come to.
again, they're vested employees, they're not our employees. We can't set,
Right, we don't set their pay.
we can make a suggestion that they be paid more, which I think is fair, but we're not the boss.
Well, maybe they got lost in transition with Vesta.
Maybe.
I don't think so.
Okay, so we agreed that we're gonna change the number, the verbiage.
Right. So we're gonna go with the setup fees, we're gonna change the verbiage to the way that I stated it. So can we move on from that category?
Well, can we vote on it?
How about if we vote on that one to get that
Get one out of the way.
get that done? Okay. I'll make a
We're gonna
motion.
vote one at a time.
I'll make a motion that we accept the setup tear down fees with the changes that have been suggested.
Second.
Any discussion? Can we vote?
All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Okay.
All right, do you want to take these next ones one by one? How do you want to handle this? We've got the three that were proposed by Ken. One being the tennis ball machine, two being the tennis day guest, and three being change on the fitness and specialty fitness classes.
I'd like to ask a question on the second one. Could you read the second one, please?
The tennis day guest,
Yes, and what is the proposal on that?
correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but I believe your proposal was to change that from $10 to $15.
Yeah.
The guest fee.
Tennis day guest fee. Currently, it's listed as $10. Ken's proposal was to change it to $15.
That's the second one. The first one?
First one, River Club tennis ball machine usage fee is currently listed as $0, and Ken wanted it to be $10 per half hour.
Okay. All right. I would like to speak to 1 and 3, if I may. So number one, about using the tennis machine. To me, that's an amenity. It's part of playing tennis. I'm not so sure what it really costs us, other than maybe some electricity and replacing that machine. But if we're really about amenities, we spend a lot of money on our tennis program here for about 20% of our residents that play tennis. I'm all in favor of that. I think it's a good activity. I'm supportive of it. But if the audience knew and the board knows, we put 100,000 gallons of water on those tennis courts a month. That costs us money. That's an amenity. That's part of running a program here. And so I'm fully in favor of everything that has to do with that. I'm in favor of raising the guest fee. I don't know if 15 is right or not, but I'm in favor of raising it. I am not in favor of charging $4 for fitness activities for the rest of our residents. Because these are amenities in my view. And we went through this time and time again about, are we going to charge for water aerobics? And the decision was, well, it's too hard to account for the people that take water aerobics. I don't think that's an appropriate answer. So for the few activities we offer here for our residents, I think it's kind of a slap in the face to them to say, now you're going to pay $4 to take these activities. And I'll stop with those comments.
Anybody else?
Ernest? Water aerobics.
There's a cost associated. I'm supportive of that, of your request. Can we extrapolate out how much each resident pays solely for amenities?
Good question. I think it would be difficult, but I think it's an excellent question.
Yeah.
That's not something I can answer.
Okay,
I
you
don't-
can't
I
answer.
don't manage the river
And
club.
the next question would be from the resident, what am I paying for?
You know, Ernest, a good point. I pay my
The
fees every
entire
year.
River Club and everything about it is an amenity.
Exactly. I would agree with you, Ken. I think I rarely eat here because we like to cook at home. I love paying my fees here because this is an amenity that I bought into. I think he's right.
But the issue is how we ask residents to pay for the amenities. Is it 100% subsidized by all residents, or is part of it a user fee, if you would?
Well, Ken, I'm not a tennis player. I'm supporting the tennis program.
I'm not either.
But I like supporting those programs because that's an amenity of living here. And I think when we start saying, well, tennis is an amenity and we're not going to charge people to use our courts, but we're going to charge them to use the water aerobics, I think we're going the wrong direction here. I think we need to offer amenities to our residents. Are we gonna, if and when pickleball opens up, are we gonna charge a fee for pickleball? Should that happen? I don't think so.
I don't think so, you know. No, but it's part of an enhancement of our property values to have these types of amenities here. Otherwise, we can be living in, HUD program properties. Okay, come on.
And these amenities that we're offering to our residents are a healthy lifestyle type of amenity. And I think that's a bonus to what we're trying to promote here.
I agree. Lifestyle, like you said. So those are my comments. Rich?
When we had these discussions before, it kind of came down to if you take a tennis lesson, you pay for it. If you have an instructor, you pay for it. A tennis instructor. I think the same applies here with fitness instructors. I don't know about the water aerobics. I see a problem with figuring out who is in the class, who isn't. But at the same time, there is an instructor who is being paid by all the residents, not the 25, 30 people who are in the water. I know they did keep track of who was in the groups during COVID. So if they could do it then, they can do it again. Well, that was an issue when we discussed this, 2 years ago.
I don't think that's a good reason that we can't keep track, so that's not, so.
Right, so that reason's out the window.
I don't buy that reason.
Yeah.
Now, again, I see that as an amenity and a lifestyle for our residents. And
as far as the ball machine, it is something that this board does pay for. The community pays for it through the board. And it will need to be replaced. And I think this is just a way to accumulate some money to replace it.
No.
It's a user fee. It's a user fee for a specific item.
Now, a guest using that machine, no problem charging.
I don't think that's ever come up.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my thoughts. Rich?
I'm not sure about the ball machine. It's never crossed my mind. I thought it was a part of the tennis program. But I'm willing to listen. As far as the guest fees goes, I feel very strongly that outsiders coming in to use our facility, the tennis facility in particular, need to pay. And my issue that I brought up a number of times is how we keeping track of this and are we actually collecting fees? I had been told previously that they have a handle on it. This is from the previous tennis instructor, that we have a handle on it, that we are collecting. I think it has to happen. The fees for guests need to be collected. My feeling is that anything extra that you use should carry some fee with it. And we did have the fitness fees, and I guess it was 2 years or so ago, they were eliminated. I think if you use the fitness classes and we have an instructor, you have to supplement it in some way, and I think a nominal fee is reasonable.
So I'm going to address the fees again. The tennis day guest fee going up to $15. I suggested that because I was somewhat taken aback by the fact that the rackets committee had voted to preclude the tennis director or the pros from giving lessons during prime time. So they were forced to give them only in the later hours, in the hotter hours. And as a result, they weren't getting as many lessons apparently, so Vesta increased the base salary of the tennis director significantly to help offset that and retain him. So my feeling is if that's the approach we want to take, and it's because we don't want the tennis courts to be taken up and residents not have access to them in prime time, then the same should apply to bringing guests during prime time. So that's why I'm suggesting the higher fee. And again, it didn't seem like a lot, but it was just, taking time from residents and helping to defray staff costs. The same applies to the tennis ball machines, because there is some time taken by the staff to manage that machine, there's electricity, everything involved in it, and it just seemed nominal for $10. I can apply the same logic to fitness classes. Now, COVID took care of classes being filled, but now we're getting past that, and we go back to the point of paying instructors for these classes. So again, while the fitness center is certainly an amenity, and we don't charge people to belong to the fitness center, having classes that involve additional costs to the community for instructors, you pay for tennis lessons, you pay for golf lessons. To me, the classes, you're paying to cover the cost of an instructor. I chose not to include the water aerobic classes simply for the reason that A, there's less of a limitation because of the size of the pool, and B, the effort to try to track the usage of that in our pool would be somewhat prohibitive. So I can argue we're taking the pool time away from residents during those water aerobics, but we have a lap pool. So that's all my logic behind these suggestions. And again, I don't think $4 a class is significant. I look at my club up here, and classes are anywhere from $7 to $17 per class. And believe me, we're paying more than we are in fees up here to belong to the club, and it is an amenity. Guest fees for tennis are the same $15 type. So they just didn't seem out of line to me, and it will help defray the cost and put some of the cost to the people who are actually using those amenities that involve extra cost, rather than having all the residents subsidize it. So again, that's the logic behind all of these.
I just would like to say one thing. Obviously, this is your decision. It's a policy decision to be made by the board, but having lived through the previous discussions regarding this, I'm not sure that I answered Ken's question, and I stand by my answer that I do believe that the board could make these changes if they wanted to today. But I don't know that your community expected this to be part of the discussion today, and you may in fact get some backlash. You may not, but again, having lived through what happened in the past, when everybody knew it was an issue that was going to be before the board, you had a packed room with people with good points on either side. We don't have anybody here today, and I don't know where this is going to go. It's your decision now.
The thing is that it was in the agenda.
It's in the agenda, it was advertised, and I do believe that you have the right to discuss these issues.
One of the few times I don't agree with Andy. I think it was
No.
in the agenda, it was publicized, if people chose not to come, they chose not to come.
I'm just pointing that out. Absolutely, it's your decision.
Well, but I mean, this is an important point here, and I guarantee you that if the community knew what we're talking about, there'd be more participation. I just can't believe that there wouldn't be. And Ken, I've got to really disagree with some of your logic. May I have a microphone? Again, the tennis machine is part of a tennis program, and to charge tennis players to use the machine where there's no instructor, I don't know who sets it up, is just silly. And I'm wondering if that recommendation has even gone to the tennis committee for them to act on it. So I'm getting a no on that. In the logic here that we're gonna charge a handful of individuals who take a yoga class or a hula hoop class, but we're not gonna charge people that take a water aerobics class that takes up that whole pool is beyond belief to me. I don't see how you separated it. I don't think that's good logic that we're using here. If the board's will is to charge people for exercise classes that they're gonna take, to me, it's gotta be all in or all out. And I just think we're setting ourselves up for something that's not right for our residents. I don't think we're that poor that we now have to say, if you're a tennis player, you're gonna have to pay $10 to use a machine. And if you're a resident who wants to take a class here, you gotta pay. I'm sorry,
Hang on a second, Steve.
Welcome to the Nextiva collaboration
It's
system.
disconnected, I don't know.
Please enter a conference ID. You will now be placed into the conference. Press star for help.
Hey, Matt.
thank you.
Okay. Steve had a comment.
I'm
Ken.
back. I've spoken my piece.
He didn't hear you.
Ah. Well, Ken, I was making an eloquent speech here about how I think we're really getting into the weeds when we're gonna charge tennis players a $10 fee to use a machine that I have a lot of trouble with that. And I also have a lot of trouble saying that, well, we're gonna charge a handful of individuals that take a yoga class or a hula hoop class or whatever they do. It's not one-on-one instruction, it's group instruction. And there's no difference between that group instruction for that crew versus the water aerobics people. So I don't think the argument washes here.
I think that Andy's comment needs to be considered. I realize, Rick, as you say, that everything is on the agenda, but I think that the issue that was at hand was the setup and the breakdown of the room. And I think we're maybe overstepping that a little bit. If we want to consider some additional fees, I think the community needs more notice about that, because it is a sensitive issue. I believe you should pay for what you use, but that's all well and good for me to say, but I don't honestly feel comfortable that the less than a dozen folks that are here were expecting anything other than setup and breakdown fees to be discussed. So my thought would be to go ahead with we already agreed on the setup and breakdown fees, and that if we're going to open it up to other items, that they be properly noticed.
We could continue this public hearing if you'd like, so that way we wouldn't have to incur additional notices. Up to you.
Well, we're not going to continue it on the 11th because we've already decided that we have one item there.
You continue it to whatever your next date is.
We could say that we're going to continue it on the
25th?
25th. We could say that.
Rick, could I ask one thing?
Sure.
Would that give the appropriate committees an opportunity to weigh in on what's being discussed here, so that at least they can have a say in it also? So the tennis committee, the other fitness committees. I mean, we've always gone to our committees and asked them, what do you think about this?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know what their meeting schedule is.
Yeah, I don't.
So
I can take that up on.
What I'm saying is that I like the idea of continuing that aspect of it on the 25th, but deal with the one at hand, which we've already done in terms of the setup and breakdown fees, and then continue the rest of it.
I'm supportive of that. I agree.
Okay.
So then
That's fair.
procedurally
That's
wise,
fair.
I think what we need to do is a motion to reopen the public hearing. And then instead of closing it, we get a motion to continue to a date, time, place specific.
Okay. Does everybody understand what?
Yep. You should vote with the
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm sorry. Everybody understands what we just decided here, right? That we're gonna accept the setup and breakdown as already been presented. and that we're going to consider some of the items that were brought up by Ken that were discussed by the rest of us. But that's going to carry over until the 25th of July. And we're not doing it on the 11th because everybody understands that reason. We're going to be talking about the RFP. So,
Motion to reopen the public
motion to
hearing.
reopen if there are any other questions from the residents.
Well, with, is that motion to reopen,
Motion to reopen.
second?
Second.
Okay. And then instead of closing the public hearing, what we'd be looking for now is a motion to continue the public hearing to July 25th.
Hold on, we need an all in favor to
I'm sorry?
reopen.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Okay, so the public hearing is now reopened.
And then there'd be a motion to continue the public hearing to July, is it 25th? At 9:30 at
July
this location.
So moved.
So I will make a motion to continue the discussion at the July 25th CDD meeting
At this location,
at this
at
location
9:30.
at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you.
Second.
We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So moving forward with our agenda, we now have the update regarding the Tiki Bar. Mr. Kleinglass, do you have anything to?
Yeah, could I have the microphone? Yeah, I just wanted to get this on the agenda and tell everybody where we are. To date, I think you heard the furniture is in progress. There was a question at the last meeting about who was selecting the granite in the front, and I tried to answer that, but I think I got cut off. I have asked Mark, who's the chair of our facilities committee, and Nancy, the chair of the other committee, to make these selections. And they have gone and visited lots of places. And I think that empowering them to make those selections is the right move, rather than trying to turn it over to a committee and have all kinds of discussions about that. So I hope that's agreeable with my fellow board members.
Absolutely.
They've done a nice job.
Yes.
I know what they're picking. I think it'll work out just well. So
No problem.
I hope we're all good with that. All right, in terms of permitting, all of the permits have been approved, as to our understanding. We made a phone call this morning. There is still an outstanding issue with the electrical permit. And I don't know the answer to that because I didn't get a response to my call this morning. But I had been told that the electrical permit had a couple of small things that were still at issue, but the contractor was fairly confident that that was not going to cause us any problems. So we're going to follow up with him yet. The schedule is that starting on July 5th, which is Tuesday, LMP will go in there and take care of the landscape part of things and get that done. And they're expecting 3 days with that. So that would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Rather than starting any construction on Friday, the construction would start on Monday, the 11th of July. We had 4 or 5 comments back to the letter that went out to residents about why you're doing it then. Some residents wanting to see the plans. And the response back to those individuals was that we purposely considered the July 4th holiday weekend as a time where we didn't want to start consciously because we said maybe family members and outside guests may be here. And there was also a function on July 4th that was planned and put out. So that was the reason for starting after July 4th. And I don't think that we should go back on what we've planned because there's never a good time to do anything. And we tried to explain to those residents about the reasoning, and I don't know that it's been accepted or not accepted, but at least there was a response back. I think the other issue is there's going to be ongoing discussion about what kind of beer are we going to have out there with the taps. What are we going to put in the ice cream cooler? And what are we going to put out there for TVs? Well, I think all of that will start to work itself through as we get further down the road into the construction. So that's kind of a summary of where we are, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or comments about the project.
I thought the ice cream one was dropped.
It was dropped. The bigger dip in for the ice cream was dropped. There is now just a smaller freezer out there where we can have novelty ice cream bars, maybe frozen candy bars, things like that.
Okay.
But I want to take you back, 1 minute or something. I want to take you back. Remember, the health department was pretty definitive with us about what we could do out there and what we couldn't do out there. And we're trying to stay true to that.
Good.
All right, so Ernest, please.
The ice cream.
Yeah.
Okay, I made a suggestion last week. Mark and I talked, when you go to these tiki bars, one of the things, most popular drinks there are the frozen daiquiris.
Yep.
Okay.
You should
Well, it's hardly anyone here, but frozen daiquiris.
Yep.
They have these
Yep.
machines, they're
Yep.
frozen machines.
Yep.
I think that we would be well served to replace that ice cream or whatever with the frozen daiquiri.
We're getting just what you're asking for.
All right.
Mango.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
So, did you finish with your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we are getting this Oasis machine that will do just what you're saying. And once things get settled with the food and beverage people, there'll be discussion about what we offer in that and how the drinks are made. The other thing that I want to mention to everybody is this design took place over a period of time, and there were numerous food and beverage managers that were involved, numerous bartenders that had a shot at this, numerous input from general managers. And so I think we're to the point where we've heard a lot of discussion, and now there's kind of a new group coming in and have more ideas about what we should do. I think we've got a basic concept out there, and we'll get this thing done once and for all. I'm hoping that as the comments have been about, we're going to generate a ton of revenue. I think that'll play itself out. All right, so that's my comments, and I'd be happy to answer any other
And my
questions.
comment to you is
Yeah.
that yet there have been numerous general managers and other people involved,
Yep.
but one CDD supervisor.
Right.
And I have to congratulate you on your efforts.
We're trying. We'll get this thing.
You're doing it, and you're doing the right thing.
Thanks. I'm kind of excited, and we'll make a decision in the next day or two about whether we're gonna tell LMP to go on the 5th or not, because there's no sense in ripping it up if we don't have that permit settled. So, I think we decided that by Wednesday, we're gonna make a decision. And part of the discussion also is to try to keep residents informed as much as we can.
Okay.
So, thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Before we move on, supervisors, Sandy left unfortunately, but she was instrumental in creating an instruction for the board. Apparently, the city council meetings are no longer being held via Zoom. So for tomorrow's meeting, she actually put together an instruction guide on how to access the city council meeting. So I've given everybody a copy, and Keith has extra copies for the audience if anybody wants it, but it's a guide to be able to attend the meeting, just so that everybody's aware.
You're the only CDD supervisor that will be there.
Well, I'm the only one that can speak, but
You can go there and, sit there with your hand.
So we can go.
You can't go.
you cannot participate, but you can.
Correct.
Yeah, I thought the guidance was better off looking at it on Zoom, but there's no more Zoom.
There isn't, but there is a way to log on to the meeting if you use the instructions that she provided.
Go stream.
They're streaming it, yeah.
All right.
So thank you, Sandy, for providing this. It's very informative. I wouldn't have known unless you would have provided it, so thank you. So moving forward, supervisors, we do have item number 6A, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on May 23rd, 2022. These are behind tab number 6 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
I have no additional changes.
No changes. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Steve?
No, I'm fine. Aye.
The next item on the agenda is item number 6B, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on June 6, 2022. These are behind tab number 7 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
I have no additional changes.
Yes,
Go ahead, Ken.
Belinda, on lines 214 and 216, Mr. Anderson should be Mr. Armstrong.
Okay,
That's it.
any other changes? There are no further changes. If we'd be looking for a motion to approve with changes as noted on the record.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We now have item number 7. We have item number 7A1 and A2, which are the acceptance of the advisory committee meeting minutes. We have Facilities Advisory Committee meeting minutes of May 2nd, 2022, and Reserve Advisory Committee meeting minutes of May 16, 2022. These are being provided for your acceptance.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Thank you. We're going to roll on to supervisor requests or comments. Are there any supervisor requests or comments?
I have a comment that,
Can you use the mic?
Yeah, I can't hear it.
okay, I have a comment, more information. You recall months ago when we became involved in our litigation with the city, that I was the person that was going to be representing the CDD. And with that, the authority was given to proceed with everything involved. In several conversations with Mark Hansen over the last 2 weeks or so, negotiations for settlement have moved along. And though I've been cautioned by counsel not to be 100% specific because nothing is signed, but I'm prepared to sign an agreement with the city for settlement. Now, you'll recall that at our shade meeting, we did discuss parameters that would be acceptable to us. And what I can say to you is that we had a high and a low, and the offer that's being made is greater than 50% of our low and a little bit less than 50% of our high. So that would put an idea. If you'd like specific information, you can all make a call to Mark Hansen's office for that. But I'm going to call his office this afternoon and say that I'm going to sign the agreement with the city to bring an end to our suit with them.
Well, and I'm not involved in this litigation, obviously, but eventually, and Mark will have to advise you on it, but I would think it will come back to you with the final agreement for you to take formal action in a board meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. Good.
Yes, I'm sure that will happen, but I will be notifying the office today that the numbers that were discussed the other day we're moving forward with that, and we're going to accept that.
So, Mr. Chair, this could be behind us in another month or so.
Yes, sir. This could be behind us in another month. Now, keep in mind, we had considered litigation costs into the 22-23 budget. It'll have an effect possibly on those numbers as well. Okay.
More for landscape, yeah.
Yeah, no, new umbrellas.
Okay, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent this board, and I think that we're making the right move. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Do we need to take any action in support of his?
Well,
No, I don't know about this.
again, I'm not involved in the litigation and Mark isn't here, but it's my understanding that, The documents haven't been prepared yet, so that once they are, certainly before it's finalized, this board needs to take formal action. So, if documents are being prepared and the chair is, saying that they're willing, to continue to prepare the documents, but no formal approval from this board will occur until you take a vote on it.
Well, then, in that case, what I'm asking is that the board give me that right now, because I thought, it was my understanding, from months ago, that this board had given me the authority to make
But
those.
likewise, you don't have the documents in front of you either, so I don't know what they say. I mean, there might be something in there that a board member does or doesn't like. I don't know. That's why I'm saying that this board might want to see the actual document that's being executed before you give formal approval. And have your attorney explain it to you.
Well, he should explain.
I could make that
That's what I
document,
mean.
Yeah.
I could make that document, or I could have him, have Mark make that document available to everybody on board.
Right, but then the board can't take a formal vote until you're in a meeting.
Should it be on the July 11th agenda then?
No. It has to be separate.
Well,
It has to be,
It has to be separate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And, that information, as I say, is available to you if you want to individually call them.
Well, Andy, I have a technical question of sorts. I was under the impression that we gave the chair the authority to do this.
I wasn't there.
Gave him the authority because he was the most knowledgeable. If you're saying now it's got to come back to this board,
Well, I think, again, I'm not part of this process, so I'm struggling a little bit because I, wasn't involved in the shade meeting, rightfully so. And I'm not handling this litigation for you, and the attorney that is, isn't here right at this moment today. So I don't know what authority has been given in the past, but just speaking from my own personal knowledge, if there is a settlement agreement to be reached, I would think that it needs to come before the board, that particular agreement with the term in it for your consideration and vote. There may be a release in there you don't like, or a lack of a release. I don't know.
yeah, I fully understand, but I think we need to get this behind us. And if it doesn't come July 11th, when is it gonna come? I mean, I think that's the problem.
We have counsel that we've hired. We've had counsel that we've hired that is representing our best interests. So, I have faith in Loback and Hanson that anything that the city is presenting is going to be, again, in our best interests. And I agree with what you said, Steve. I think if we go back, I don't know how many meetings ago, probably 2 years or so ago, when this board said, okay, you're going to be the point person on this particular initiative, and you can sign for it and all of that. That's the impression that I still have. So I don't want to delay this. I don't want the city to come back and say, oh no, we're changing our mind and we're gonna do this or do that. It took a lot of arm twisting to get to the figure that's being presented, and I really don't want to be put in a position of losing that.
Why can't he
So
indicate?
can I make a recommendation before
Please.
going to that?
Go ahead.
So given council's reservations, which I do understand, and I am seeing
That's
a
his
different
job,
perspective based on what Andy has stated, can we provide the chairman, can there be a motion by the board to authorize the chairman to engage with special counsel, notifying the city that the district board would like to move forward with a settlement? Obviously, the final documentation for the settlement would be subject to a review and approval by the entire board at a duly noticed meeting. Are you more comfortable with that type of communication / motion?
Don't we already have that?
I don't recall us going specifically to settlement discussions.
For the shade meeting, which we can't repeat here, right?
During the shade meeting, the direction was from the entire board
Right.
at that point to council. But we're moving into final settlement agreement discussions where documents need to be signed. So, that's
I
my
mean, again,
suggestion.
just speaking generically, not about your lawsuit, okay? Anytime that you have a public board, let's say you're at a mediation, and certainly the representative, whether it's the chair or whoever, has a certain amount of settlement authority, but any settlement agreement is typically subject to a final vote. I don't know what you discussed, okay, but any settlement agreement is typically subject to a final vote and approval by the board at an open meeting.
I totally agree.
So that's my
Okay,
concern.
and if I was on the other side defending the city, I wouldn't sign off it unless this body had voted to consent to the
So
agreement.
while I recognize that time is of the essence, if it's the board's direction, which, you'll have to discuss, that you want your chair to continue down this road, which sounds like you do, then I think that you can work with Mark Hanson to hammer out all the terms of an agreement, execute it. It would be subject to final vote of this board at July 11th or whatever.
I agree.
Yeah.
July 11th.
All right, so
we
I'm
should
gonna
do it.
notify the office that I have the authority to say, let's move forward on this, prepare whatever documents necessary, and that those documents will be presented to the board on July 11th.
Yes.
And July 11th, you signed the document.
Sound good?
Okay.
Okay. Way
So
to
we're
go.
making that a second agenda item.
Well, we'll put it
Right, which
first.
is, damn, I understand that we need to, but just so we're clear.
We'll put it first, given, the length that the RFP will take, so it'll be the first item on the agenda.
And I'm not trying to spend anybody's money, but if Mark's available, you might want to have him here to answer questions.
Correct.
Chances are we won't have it by then. That's not very, that's only 2 weeks, right?
I think you probably could.
I think,
move
yeah.
in that
I
direction.
So
think this-
in order to expedite it a little bit, could we be sent that document to review before the July 11th meeting?
And as the chair said, you are free to contact Mark Hanson at any time individually. If you-
Yeah, but he's gonna charge us. He's
Yeah,
each of us.
That I understand.
I mean, I'd like to read it, so at least I come to the meeting
Yeah, I
prepared,
agree.
so we don't waste our time, and then just say, it looks good to me, sign it.
Okay,
That
I
makes
mean, that would
perfect
be
sense.
best for me.
That makes
And if
perfect sense.
if it comes to me, I can forward it to you and simply say, do not respond. And this way you'll have an opportunity to see it.
Okay. Okay.
Fair enough?
That sounds good.
Fair enough. Okay.
Good. Okay.
That's it. That's all I have.
I have one question that I need to ask Keith. Keith, the handicap door up front, where are we?
We have fixed the suction problem within the building.
Okay.
Miles came up with a solution for that, and so we don't have that problem. I'm waiting on the electrician
Okay.
to come out and put the electric over the door. And so we have that electric problem there solved. As soon as that's done, we'll have a automatic door.
Okay, and I have the document from Rick, from the ADA guy, the consultant, that will get at some of the issues we had in our other meeting. There's still some height issues and some other things,
Oh,
so.
with the,
Yeah, the bathrooms
yeah.
and that stuff. So that's working its way through. The other thing I want to mention is that the plans for the tennis shop are with the architect, like everything else. Where are we in the priority? So it hasn't been forgotten. It is with the architect.
okay.
Any other supervisor requests or comments?
Yes,
Go ahead, Ken.
one comment for Rich on the Venetian views. Would you remove the strategic direction committee
Sure.
from that as it no longer functions?
Okay, thank you.
I move we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion by Rick, second by Ernest to adjourn. It is 1:00 PM. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Aye.